News Bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Wednesday, the 28th of August, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Citizens continue to be under siege as home invasions continued, with the home of a medical professional in Valsay North invaded by 7 bandits on Monday afternoon. The owner, a dermatologist, his son a dentist, and a female employee endured an hour of terror and suffered after the home lines were cut. They were tied up and gagged and robbed of cash, jewelry, alcohol, and other valuables. Residents in the area say a gang was operating, and they're now rushing to strengthen their security measures at their homes after the community was rocked by the incident. Police reports say around 1:45 p.m. the owner and her family lost thousands of dollars worth of items from their heavily fortified home. The 7 bandits entered the home and announced the holdup, telling the occupants they came for the jewelry and money. The woman said she had some cash at the home, which she was used to pay workers. She showed that to the bandit, which he took. He then demanded jewelry. Pointing to him where she kept the valuables, she said he emptied boxes and drawers, leaving items scattered and clothing strewn on the floor on her bed. Her son was bound and gagged in his bedroom, while at least 4 of the men were in the house searching the library, living room, kitchen, from where they removed a quantity of alcohol and other valuables. The bandits eventually left the traumatized family, who called police. The family's ordeal lasted about 60 minutes. Investigations are continuing. Senate Vice President Dr. Mohammed Yunus Abraham has been selected to contest the Barataria San Juan seat for the People's National Movement in the upcoming general elections. And PNM Senator Ragoobarsingh Suklal has again been chosen to contest St. Augustine. This indicated by PNM officials yesterday following Monday's screening at Balisay House headquarters of nominees of 5 seats. 4 southern seats were also screened last Friday. In June, the PNM mandated executives of the 9 opposition-held areas to seek nominees. The PNM's Barataria San Juan constituency had submitted the names of 4 nominees, including Ibrahim, Social Development Minister Donna Cox, Police Officer Roger Mohammed, and businessman Sharif Ali. It is understood Ibrahim received the most support from the party group. Ibrahim is the nephew of TNT's first Senate president under the Republican Constitution, the late Dr. Wahid Ali, who served from 1971 to 1986. Ibrahim was a PNM member for several years before being appointed as senator in June of 2021 and Senate vice president in March of 2022. Agriculture Minister Kazim Hussain has presented letters of appointment to 14 members of a Food Security and Food Prices Committee. The presentation was done at the ministry's offices on Monday. Minister Hussain said this was a pivotal step in government's commitment to ensuring access to affordable and nutritious food for all. Trinidad and Tobago has a food import bill that's ballooned to just under $8 billion. The Food Security and Food Prices Committee is comprised of experts in agriculture, economics, nutrition, trade, and consumer advocacy, so that rising food prices can be addressed from different angles by a group of diverse stakeholders. PSA President Leroy Batiste is calling on government to pay its medical plan for over $80 million needed to pay public officers, including teachers, the funds it says government owes them in medical reimbursements. The Unimed Group Health Plan was established by the employer for both daily and monthly rated employees in the public and teaching services. The plan is administered by a committee of representatives of the Chief Personnel Officer, Ministry of Finance, Tutor, and the PSA. But he said the plan was government's insurance that workers are obligated to use. He said at last count, the committee in excess of $80 million owed by the government on behalf of public officers and by extension, the teachers. The joint funeral for slain businessman Enrico Guerra and his 5-year-old daughter will take place at the family's home in St. Mary's Village, Maruca today, August 28th. That funeral is set to start at 2 this afternoon. after which a street procession is planned from the house to the cemetery at Taylor Trace. Guerra, 34, owner of Enrico Cornermat, and his daughter Anika Guerra were killed on August 21st at around 9:45 p.m. by persons unknown and armed with guns. Guerra died on the spot. The child was taken to the Princestown Medical Facility where she later died. No one has yet been held in connection with the murders. The MV Empedora arrived in Trinidad on Tuesday to assist with the cargo requirements during the absence of the MV Cabo Star. Following the receipt of the necessary statutory documentation to operate, the vessel will commence operations from Port of Spain on Wednesday, today, from 2 p.m. The vessel will depart Scarborough after the vessel has offloaded and reloaded cargoes destined for Trinidad. All truckers and port users are reminded of the amendment to the daily travel schedule. MV Cabo Star is presently undergoing repairs, which should be completed by August 30th. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Neighbors, how you doing on this hump day Wednesday, the 28th day, 28th day of August? Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, our full casting this morning, we just heard from Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Wendell Stephen, who's on already. We got Shane and Ruben in the mix. Of course, my name is Steve Khan. 24 degrees at Piarco International Airport, same at Crown Point in Tobago. Traffic-wise, nothing to tell you about. All right, so good morning to you, gentlemen.
Hi, good morning, Paul. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers. And a special good morning to the person who called and kept me on the phone for the last 3 or 4 hours harassing me morning, noon, and night. That person knows who they are.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to that person who kept Wendell alive for the last 3 hours.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
And thanks for keeping him up for 3 hours.
It doesn't usually stay up that long.
After staying up most of the night, because I don't know what's going on in our neighborhood. We're having a lot of blackouts.
Really?
And yeah, a lot of these dips in it. But yesterday was at least they had notified us, but still they didn't keep to the time. So yesterday
going to have a little problem, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of distressing sometimes, And then when it comes back and you're already in your bed and you're asleep and everything comes on, you had to go and find out, see what you leave on because it would have gone before, you know what I mean? It's a bit bothersome. But say what? It cost me a battery pack, one of those power packs yesterday. It went bad, So thankfully that took the brunt of the dips, So I just have to change a battery pack. And then I have to change my television and my cable and my this and my that and the other. I was plugged into it, But anyway, we are here. We're happy to be in the land of the living. For those who would have lost loved ones, including I saw Steve Khan. I sent a message to Shane and to Gillan, but I didn't get a response because I saw a post on Facebook. A young man from 94.1.
Oh, Jamil James.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to work there.
I didn't know about that at all. And I said, whoa. It took me by surprise because I saw it on O'Brien Haynes' page.
Yeah.
He did a tribute to him. And I said, wow, that is so sad. I didn't know about Jamil at all. I know Jamil and his brother. They went to school with my son, so.
Yeah, his nickname is Mouse. So I didn't know it. I didn't know. It's just somebody sent me a message last week and I said, huh? And then I dug up a bit and said, wow.
Yeah. So condolences to his family. I think he was a relative of former member of Parliament for Laventille West, Eulalie James. He was supposed to have been either her nephew or grandson or something of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So condolences to that family.
Yeah. A lot of funerals. Went to one yesterday too, so a lot of funerals. Let's say good morning to those on WhatsApp, like
Doreen Pierre, who's celebrating a birthday. Happy birthday, Doreen.
hey, D. Pierre. Happy
Doreen.
birthday, D. Pierre.
All right.
Avid listener to Bar Breakfast Show for a long time.
Happy birthday, Doreen. Have a wonderful day today.
Yeah, cake and ice cream on the Power Breakfast Show. Love it. David
Lisa
Nelson. Good morning.
Margot Thorne also celebrating her birthday today. And Cecil Hinkson, who is my cousin-in-law, lives in Canada. They live in there for the last 50 or so years, yes. Happy birthday, Cecil.
Happy birthday. Captain Ron out in Orlando, good morning. Val, good morning. Dan Raj, good morning. Anthony in Toronto, good morning to you as well. You know, when I don't say hello, I get both. Maria Celia, Trinity in Boston. Haven't heard from you in a while. Hope all is well. Wendy and James, Oliver Man Warren, Beefy Smith in that place I would love to live in. Tobago, Goodwood, Tobago. DJ Ray out in Delaware, Wayne Bennett in Covington, Georgia, Brenda Isaac in Santa Cruz, Garcilia Valencia, Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida, Carol Guevara, D. Pierre, Shanika York, good morning, Deep, CJ New York, Alistair Hart, Nakisha Pierre, Brent Sylvester, Gloria Gray, Hanif Daniel, good morning. Slyn Dial Singh, David Ways, and of course, Cheryl. Good morning. Rena Budu Jennings, Business Prasad, Cynthia Ramsaru, Mogain. Mogain, you disappeared for a while. Ian Lee, you also disappeared for a while. Robert Harper, Randy Kelly. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much for sending us a message and watching us on Me TV. It's given a little problem still, but hopefully it'll get better.
And belated birthday greetings to Karen Sibaran. Karen's birthday was yesterday. Karen is an ardent fan of the Power Breakfast Show and one of those people who helps out a lot with tea and tech issues. So you don't have to private message him. He will listen to it and he will act on it based on what he hears on this program. So morning and happy belated birthday greetings, Karen.
Yeah. Going back to this story that that we mentioned yesterday morning, and we had in the news with the family with the home invasion in Valsayn. They have a fence 6 feet tall. They have an electric fence. They have cameras all over the place. What is one to do to protect your premises?
I didn't get to listen to the program at all yesterday because yesterday we also had an outage during the morning. So I didn't get to listen to you all at all yesterday. So I didn't even know what was said. So. But I see Mrs. R sent some messages to me that she deleted last night. So I don't know. What you do, Mrs. R?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Okay.
You don't want to know. Yeah. So what is one to do when you try to protect your and feel safe in your home on your compound?
Yeah, home invasions are.
It's home invasions.
Worrying.
Is so much on the rise.
I think so.
Extortion is so on the rise.
Was that Avi I heard you just now?
Paul is doing a fancy thing.
Oh.
He's doing a fancy thing there. So I don't know what else one can do.
Well, it's not for us to do at this point. I think most people over the years have increased, the people I know anyway, have increased their security arrangements in and around their homes. There's your fence can only go up so high. You can only install so much burglar proofing. If you can afford it, you install cameras. The cameras don't stop bandits, just provide evidence as to you being, God forbid, being invaded.
Yes.
So, and at some point, you have to open the gate to drive in or walk in and drive out or walk out.
Yes.
So, past having food airdropped through a space in the roof where they could even jump and wait for you there. I don't know what else people can do.
Yeah.
That last home invasion in Valsin follows the brutal assault and home invasion of the founder of Uncle Bedu over the weekend.
Correct.
So it is happening with increasing frequency and continues unabated. So I don't know. The residents of Valsin, and I know several people living in Valsin, have been under siege. A couple of months ago, it was people being assaulted by walking elderly in the evening, you know? So they put up these fences to screen people coming into the area, but that can only go so far. And it doesn't extend to all areas of Valsin, just some areas where the residents got permission to put up the security booth and the arm.
Yeah.
But, that can only go so far. It's just depressing.
I know. It is depressing, I have to tell you, because
they're beating people mercilessly, even though people are giving them whatever they want,
They don't care. They're angry. They don't care.
Well, they're continuing with impunity, so.
Yeah.
And people have, as you said, Paul rightly said just now, people are putting so many devices. A lot of people have air horns. A lot of people they've done so many things, but there's always that unguarded moment. And that's the moment that these guys and them are striking. So you just have to be so very careful and so very mindful. You can't afford to be in your yard with your door open again.
Not only that, look at Archbishop went in the Port of Spain, parked his car, came on his car, they hit him, and they robbed him of his money, phone, wedding ring.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is well, I don't know how the police can do.
Well, it's opportunism, and they prey on people. They actually stalk you for a while to monitor your comings and goings.
Yeah.
To establish your routine, and then they use whatever vulnerabilities they feel you have and attack you. It doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly.
Because in many cases where people have recounted the ordeals to me, when they look at the security cameras, they realize a car passing regularly and scouting the premises, the place. And then they strike when, as you both rightly said, when there's the moment of vulnerability that they've realized is a moment of vulnerability. You're coming into your car, you're driving in or out.
You go to the
come out of your house to put your trash outside.
Yeah.
But you have to do that at some point.
Yeah.
You can't drive to do that. You understand?
Yes.
You have to actually walk out the fence in most cases. The rubbish people are not going to come into your yard. You have to actually walk out with the trash in your hand, which is what happened to a friend of mine a couple of months ago. And that hour, it was 5:30 in the morning. That's when they struck. Remember the video we showed early in the morning where the three people were assaulted and the woman ran back inside. She was confused by what was happening. So it's happening over and over and over. And the police need to do what they have to do. Well, speaking of police, Wendell wasn't here yesterday as well. There to raise the issue again. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa has now responded. What is this frog in my throat now? To Mr. Griffith's missive yesterday after Mrs. Prasad Bisesa indicated on Sunday or Monday night, that every Minister of National Security and every Commissioner of Police appointed by this Dr. Rowley administration has failed. And she lumped Mr. Griffith into that after previously saying Mr. Griffith, some years ago, was the best commissioner ever.
She said it on the local government platform recently.
Last year.
When they came together.
But she's now saying he's lumped into one of the failures, and the only reason that his stats showed a decline was because it was COVID. And that three people were bypassed to appoint him in PNM quote-unquote interference. So
yes,
he of course fired back and said he likened her to the Joe Biden of local politics. The only difference is Joe Biden knows when to step out. And now she says she's not phased in the least bit. But as I indicated yesterday, please excuse, just all of a sudden my throat giving trouble. When asked by Guardian Media yesterday through a series of WhatsApp exchanges if this latest exchange by the two means that there's no possibility of alliance. Mrs. Pasalbi says her answer that nothing is cast in stone.
Exactly. And I told someone who messaged me yesterday, bro, they're not getting back together. I said, them two, after all that they say about one another, they got back together for local elections. I said, they're
You're
going
saying
back.
the enemy of my enemy is my friend, eh? And politics is not about friendship or liking people. Friendship, politics is about advantageous opportunities that may arise.
Yeah.
To achieve mutual objectives.
And they all, bar none, coming together for this
But Wendell,
general elections.
we're talking about different parties here. Within political parties, people dislike each other intensely and fight intensely in both the PNM and the UNC.
Yes.
But they have to work together to achieve common objectives.
Yeah.
You understand?
That's
sometimes bitter political enemies within the same party.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you something. In a matter of months, this can all be water under the bridge, depending on what the objectives are and what opportunities present themselves.
Exactly.
You all continue to be amazed and fuzzled and buzzled by the machinations of politicians. Politicians will be politicians.
I'm consistent with my position. They are all going to come together to go up against the PNM in 2020.
That could be our question this morning. Do you think Gary Griffith and Kamala Pasabi says will mend fences to fight the election?
Yeah, we could ask that.
We could ask that question.
That's a good one there, Paul.
I certainly think the possibility exists.
I don't think it exists. I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm willing to bet money on it. I don't gamble, but I'm willing to bet money on it now that they will all come together.
Two more persons have been...
Hopeless, NTA, MND, MSJ, what am I saying? NV, who else?
Patriotic Front,
NAR, COP, ILP, all of them coming together. All, every man jack. Every man jack.
I personally energized this morning.
And look, and the amount of positions, gonna be promised.
And in a good mood too. She really gave you a nice time. You're in a good mood. You're smiling. Your face is glowing. You're looking peachy.
For a man that did not sleep.
No, but Tuesdays is the day that I generally don't do anything or don't go anywhere. So unless I have to. So yesterday I just couch potatoed it and watch television, watch cricket, and when we got electricity.
Who won the game last night?
West Indies won, and I think TKR won. I didn't see that game because the electricity went. So I didn't finish see the TKR game, but I was reading this morning. Someone said that they I think they won. They into the finals. I'm not sure.
Not sure.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, all of them coming together. All.
So the PNM has confirmed 2 more people to fight seats in 2025. Senate Vice President Dr. Muhammad Yunus Ibrahim has been selected to contest Barataya San Juan. And Senator Minister Renuka Sagramsingh Suklal will go up again against Khadija Amin. She lost against Khadija Amin in 2020, but she's been selected again to battle Khadija Amin for St. Augustine. Senator Yunus Ibrahim is a dentist and is the vice president of the Senate. I think it's also strategic because he is Muslim.
Yeah, which is why I was kind of surprised that Donna Cox threw her hat in that ring.
I'm not surprised. Donna Cox walked and kind of mentored Jason Williams, if my memory serves me correct, when he fought in 2020 unsuccessfully in Barataya San Juan. And she used to be the MP for the adjoining area, which is
Laventil East Mover.
Laventil East Mover. You understand? So she's not unfamiliar with the area. But anyway, it's all water under the bridge now because Dr. Ibrahim has been selected, and so too Minister Sagramsingh Suklal. So the screenings continue.
So did they also select Rishi Sukai?
I didn't see that
Mr.
identified.
Gones East.
He was the only nominee there.
Well, and I don't think he will be unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
I knew he was going off a screen. That's all I knew.
Yeah, he was screened already, I think.
Yeah, so I think that's just to be announced now.
Okay.
You know,
Interesting. I think the real battle is Moruga, Tableland, Mayaro, because those are multiple nominees in those areas. You know,
well, is it Michelle Benjamin for the UNC?
he is the current MP
incumbent?
of Moruga.
Right, and
so Finbar is saying Sukai was selected.
he was selected. Okay, thank you. That seat was held in 2015 by the PNM.
Yeah,
Is
by
that the seat that they ran Gypsy?
Dr. Lovell Francis was the MP there.
And then they ran Gypsy.
And then they put Gypsy.
Which to me, I said it before, it was a self-inflicted blow.
It was.
Yeah. Finbar Collins is saying yes, Sukai was selected. Okay.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, Gypsy lost. Not surprisingly to me. You know, and I like Gypsy. Gypsy's a friend to the show. But I think Gypsy's jumped from side to side too many times for anybody to take him seriously politically.
Yeah.
He's a great Kaisonian. But
yeah, we gave away that seat in 2020.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed where Gypsy is concerned in terms of active electoral politics.
Well, soon after he was selected as chairman of NCC. And he remained there.
You know the thing that's go Wendell.
Yeah.
You have to get the NS.
Well, except maybe only when anyway, I mash my mouth. But Michelle Benjamin was a non-entity, and here she is as an MP.
And she's had 4 years to prove her worth. So you can't discount the fact that she's had an opportunity to show the people of Moruga, etc., what she can do.
Yeah.
You know? Minister of Agriculture, Kazim Hussein, has presented letters of appointment to a 14-member committee called the Food Security and the Food Prices Committee, which has people from agriculture, economics, nutrition, trade, and consumer advocacy to deal with rising prices. The minister is quoted as saying the food import bill in the country is $5 billion. If he did say that, he should check with his colleague, the Minister of Finance, who told me in the Senate some months ago it's closer to $8 billion. Okay? And I don't see what they're going to do because where that is concerned, because I think the horse has bolted where that is concerned.
Long time.
So that committee, to me, is quite cosmetic. But we will see. I don't think anything will come out of that. And when you put 14 people in a committee, they will barely meet. Sips coffee.
Well, it's 14 stipends. Huh?
Quite possibly. Unnecessarily so. But then you can't say, well, we didn't do nothing.
Yeah, because I don't know that any committee have control over prices.
Has the power over supply and demand.
Yeah.
And curated taste levels.
Yes.
And against Massey, Price Smart, True Value.
Extra foods.
And the plethora of supermarkets arising out on the east-west corridor of interesting origin.
Yeah.
Okay? I ended down the power over them.
None.
Right?
None.
So all you could talk from now till whatever. We still gonna get be jamming still.
Wait. Like I get your frog now. And I've noticed it coming when we want to talk about UNC. UNC manifesto includes the plan to raise the legal age of gambling and to put marijuana use to 25. UNC going mad. The United National Congress General Election Manifesto will include provisions for raising the legal age for marijuana use and gambling to 25 years.
I have no problem with that. I don't think it'll go through, but I do have a problem with that because if you understand human development and lifespan development, the human brain is not fully developed until 25, and marijuana use affects human brain development.
Paul, that horse bolted.
I ain't saying it ain't bold, but I'm saying as a principle, I have no problem with it. Good morning, Ragoobarsingh.
Good morning, guys.
You just morning, Richard. Morning, Richard. You just eliminated the whole 18 to 25 voting population. You just isolated them.
I don't know that means that.
What is that you're talking about?
The UNC, Richard. Listen to this. Let me get a sober view on this.
Wow. Because I do agree with you, that's sober. Okay. All right.
I'm leaving you for now. You like your powder yellow.
Wow. Keep going.
Listen to this, Richard. The United National Congress General Election Manifesto will include provisions for raising the legal age for marijuana use and gambling to 25 years and older. What are your thoughts?
Well, I know Paul's thoughts to that.
Forget what you're bringing in Paul for.
I know because he mentioned it yesterday. I don't know that I'm much in favor of it, and I'll tell you why. That there was a big issue in terms of the decriminalization of marijuana. And you remember, I'm not a smoker myself. I don't even smoke cigarettes. But I would have marched at that event to make it legal.
Yes, we championed that cause, yeah.
We have championed that cause in radio. I actually went in front of Parliament in the waterfront with people who I assume smoke marijuana because I was strong about it because I felt there was too much abuse of the system by police officers and the system generally in terms of people's records and stuff with regard to marijuana. When you raise it to 25, the reality is that there is still going to be that window of people between 18 and 25 smoking it.
Right. Because
the law changes. The law changes.
Richard frozen there?
Well, yeah, no, you have bad internet.
It just goes into a hidden view, or it becomes something that's penalized. So what you have now is a group of young people between the ages of 18 to 25 who may be smoking marijuana, who are now going to start appear before the court, and because they have a little itsy bitsy bit of marijuana or whatever it is they have, that police officers are going to be in the element again and saying, I found him and it's no longer legal between this age group, and they're all going before the system. It goes on their records possibly.
Yes.
And for young people to have that on their record, I think is counterproductive.
Right. Now, you see why I like you see why this discussion is good? I went a step further, Richard. I actually voted for the decriminalization of marijuana in the Senate. Right? For the very same reasons you so eloquently outlined. Because there was a view, it's a fact that there are hundreds of young men in particular who are incarcerated and who have had put on their records, which damages their potential for jobs, etc., marijuana charges. And this is one of the reasons exposed by this government for bringing that legislation. But I have to also counter that with knowledge that I have because of my training, that the human brain is not fully developed until the age of 24, 25. And marijuana use actually impedes that development to some extent. But again, because Richard has so eloquently outlined the negative side of raising that limit, where a large amount of smokers are between the ages of 18 and 25, it will be counterproductive to the initial intention of not having those young men in particular, and young women in some instances, because women smoking too, caught in that legal quagmire. So, Richard, you have again brought me back to sober center.
Well, that is why I involved Richard, because I remember the campaign that we were. I never smoked a day in my life. I don't gamble. I can't say that I haven't gambled, but
I've gambled twice in Las Vegas, $5 each time. Yeah, and I smoked once because I was misled by Nikki Crosby.
You smoked? Well, look at that. Well, I
was
never
misguided and poorly guided by Nikki Crosby.
Oh God!
And I never forget it also because
Yeah,
I was
bringing in
about to
Nikki in the
interview
background.
Earl Lovelace, working for Gael TV.
Eh,
In an event in Chagram. I'll never forget. She said, take a pull now. I said, "But get I just smoke them strippers. Take a pull." I
when
wonder
you
if
on
I
the
should have said
back.
that on the radio. Anyway.
Yeah, I've never smoked.
She took it from someone and handed it to me.
Yeah.
I
And,
have had secondhand
and,
smoke affect me
and,
though.
and I took one pull and I forgot Earl Lovelace's name, who he was, who I was interviewing.
Oh gosh!
I said, I laugh at everything. Somebody passed her laughing. I said, hear me, this is not for me.
Yeah, some people can have reactions.
This is not for me.
I've never tried it because I know some people, my brain is overactive. So I don't even want to know what would
I
happen.
need to be in full cognitive control all the time. That's not for me.
I have always been afraid of trying it because of what I've seen it done to people. I say, you see me and that in my system.
That is not for me.
I just feel I go overdo something.
Well, you know, you're prone to overdo.
Yes, I know. That is why.
Anyway, we should open the phone lines.
Yeah.
What was the question I suggested, guys? I forgot it totally out of my brain.
You asked about why am I forgetting it too now? Because it was something we raised this morning early.
If they'll come together for the election.
Oh yes.
All right. Yes. If the
if Gary Griffith and Kamala Prasad says so, put aside the differences before the election is called, or when the election is called in 2025.
But this is another good poll too. Paul, the one with do you agree with the UNC to raise that legal age of gambling and marijuana? Maybe we could do that tomorrow or Friday.
You see, whoever had you up is more than one poll you're given this morning. Your poll is very virile and effective this morning. Your poll generation. It's already
Wendell said he was up for 3-4 hours this morning before the show.
Which one do you prefer, Ragoobarsingh? Please arbitrate.
There were two polls there.
Wendell has a lot of polls this morning.
And Eddie Gary and Andy Campbell. Let's grab this poll. Good morning.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Sweetbread.
Good morning, Dr. Paul. Good morning, Wendell. Good morning, Rich.
My dear.
Morning is Davide.
So, if Ms. Kamala Prasad, Sessa, is thinking that 18 to 25 age group is for the age limit for drinking and gambling, so when we have our children who want to get married at age 22, 23, so they get married and their husband and wife, well, of course, they're legal because they're over 18. So they decide to take a drink or go and gamble somewhere. So they could get locked up then.
Yes.
Basically.
Get locked up.
Yeah.
So,
Ms. Dabney, which one of Wendell's polls do you want this morning?
I want to go to the NTA. Okay. I want to hear the one.
You want his political poll this morning?
I'll spread out my polls. We'll do one today and one on Friday.
His political poll.
You want his political poll? That seems to be the Anyway, thank you, Ms. Dabney. I'm not even say that.
So then, what sense that made? Because I don't understand, because if the legal age for voting or the voting age is 18, right? You could vote at age 18. So I had to wait till you reach 25 to take a drink. I mean, I don't drink, I don't smoke.
Is it for alcohol too?
No, it's not alcohol.
Not alcohol. It's not alcohol. It's gambling and marijuana use.
Gambling and marijuana. So then this whole decriminalization of this marijuana now will become zero, because the young men will go back into prison, stay in remand for how long for a one stick of marijuana now, if that were the case. So that will come to zilch.
That holds both.
That's all.
All right.
Sorry, Ms. Wasan.
Thank you, Sweetbread. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning.
Wendell, you are so right. Before that election comes, all those parties will join with the UNC. I predicted it, I said it, and it is going to happen. All what Kamala said about Gary Griffith, he will put that aside. He wants to see if he could get back in office so bad that he will go and join up with her.
Well, I don't think call it that it's a matter for Mr. Griffith. You know, Mr. Griffith has said on this show before that he thinks and he knows that he has to join it. It makes sense to join with a bigger party. It's if Mrs. Prasad says and the UNC wants to enter into the accommodation. So I don't think it's about whether Guy Griffith wants it. I think it's whether the UNC is willing to have that kind of accommodation.
So he recognized that he cannot do it alone.
He said so. He said so because of the political construct of this country.
Oh, yeah, because we rejected him in the West, so I say he gone to the East. So I'm glad he knows that. He can't pull it off alone. I listened to the resident who had the home invasion in Valsane. I mean, having one person, 2 men wake up 2 in the morning and see 2 or 3 men in your living room is bad, but 7, Lord have mercy.
Yeah,
and I mean, an electric, well, it seems like nothing you put.
And that legally qualifies as a gang, eh?
That's a gang.
Fence, and they still come in? Nah. Fella, officers, all you see for they could start back what y'all did a week or 2 ago, because we just can't go on this way. It seems like y'all need to start back. Y'all need to push back again. Don't stop, because this is unacceptable. So if Randolph Burrows spoke to y'all from the grave 2-3 weeks ago, oh God, see if you could have a conversation with him, because he used to say, I take no prisoners, and I now understand what we seeing, what he meant by that. I couldn't comprehend it when in those days when I heard he made that statement. But you see now, all you see for you can adapt that. Take no prisoners.
You had a booby trap your house.
Before we get to 6:45, guys.
And then a father talking about the police shouldn't have shoot them now. At least they could arrest them. Really? No way. Time for that nonsense.
There's something that I want clarity on.
Thank you.
Richard could probably explain it to me, and I'll play a little clip. And because it really confused me, to be very honest, and I guess I shouldn't be confused.
Good morning.
Wait, Steve, wait. Let me just
hold on.
65, they are entitled. They are persons who are in receipt of NIS pension, of course, and according to the amount you're getting, you are not eligible.
Now, this has caused quite a furor on social media. The issue of pension being a benefit as opposed to a grant. And
remember, this was a heavy debate already, you know, where they say it's not a pension, that it's a grant.
The senior citizens grant.
Yeah. And if it's a grant, it's discretionary.
Yeah, it's discretionary.
And if it's not, and people are extremely upset by that statement. Eh?
Yeah. It was upsetting back then.
Extremely upset by that statement. And it's caused quite a furor on social media. With people wanting clarity on whether or not they are entitled to a pension/grant or not.
Yes.
Because it's raised a lot of question marks as to people's status when they retire.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I think that needs to be clarified, because it's opened quite the Pandora's box.
Well, that senior citizens grant is available in certain circumstances. It's really for citizens 65 and older who would not be pensionable. They're not in a pensionable position, or they're not getting income from some other source.
Yes.
Even if you're getting NIS and you're getting a reduced NIS, what they do is they do a kind of mathematic formula to bring.
It's a means test.
Yeah, but they bring you up to. But even if you're getting NIS, but a reduced NIS, I think they do a mathematical formula to get you up to at least the 3,500. I think it is for the senior citizens grant. But they changed that terminology. I think under Manning, wasn't it?
Yes, it was under Mr. Manning. They changed it from pension to grant.
From pension to grant, because they felt the terminology implied that it had to be done. This was my thinking back in the time, and they changed the grant. But for all intents and purposes, people see it, especially the group of citizens who are becoming 65 or who are 65 and over,
who do not have another source of income, they see it as a benefit that you get at age 65 from the state.
Yeah.
And you can't escape that because it has been there for years and years and years. And the state could twist and turn whatever name they want to call it. That's how people are going to see it.
Yeah. Let's grab this call. Thanks for holding. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you all going?
Good, man. How you going?
Yeah, me now. Listen to me, Wendell. Wendell, we have to start somewhere. That's why we have all them crazy young people doing all kind of craziness and not trying to behave themselves. I have no problem with them putting that age at 25. Look, America has no drinking at 21. Yes, some of them will fall through the loop. But we have to start somewhere, giving our young people some discipline in this country. And even if they lost this election, they might win the next one, but people have to start to stand up and do the right thing and do what is good to the people of Trinidad and Tobago and not what is good for the party.
Hold on, Cindy. The decision to allow to decriminalize marijuana had nothing to do with people on the party. It's people from all walks of life that smoking. I don't know if you know that.
I have no problem with them decriminalizing it and putting a legal age to smoke it on it. Decriminalize it. You have all kind of 12-year-old and 10-year-old and 15-year-old and them are smoking at the state.
Right. So how is raising it to 25 going to fix that?
Some of them will learn to be with, some of them will afraid the laws, they will afraid what will happen to them, and they will do the right thing.
But they're already breaking the law if they're smoking at 12 and 15.
Yeah.
Right? Some people, yes, some people will put the right, some people it will act as a deterrent because of some of the conditions that will be applied to it, right? So I welcome these kind of things. So I welcome it that our country could start to really go on the right path. And when it comes to the pension to the grant, I have no problem with that again. Why, if you could afford to mind yourself and take care of yourself and meet your needs, your financial needs, why is the government have to give you extra money as an elder person who don't go through life, who work, who's supposed to save, who's supposed to take care of themselves in the elder age? Let them put the money into the young children. Give the children and then the grant so that they can get the books and things to go to school and educate themselves. You don't reach your legal age as an elder person. You work most of your life. You're supposed and you can take care of yourself. Who cannot who never work and they need the little assistance and they to buy the little medication and things, fine. But you work, sometimes people working there. They're working for kind of $20,000 a month, $30,000, and they could afford to mind themselves. Why you have
Well, it is a means test, you know. It is a means test.
All right. Thanks, Cindy.
Yes, so use the means test.
But it is a means test. So I'm not so sure
Right, and invest into the youth.
why people thinking that it's not a means test. There is a means test, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Cindy.
All right.
All righty. Rich, you have papers?
Yes, I do.
Let's get to headlines.
All right, so the Trinidad and Tobago, let me start with the Trinidad and Tobago news day for today. And of course, it's Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. And the main headline, government owes $80 million for medical bills. PSA and tutor up in arms over failing health insurance. Government owes $80 million for medical bills. That's the main headline. And of course, teachers would have marched yesterday in front of the Ministry of Education. And so said, there is a picture of that march. Members of the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association protest outside the Ministry of Education, St. Vincent Street, Port of Spain on August 27th. That's the main picture. Kamla, UNC will never have a leader like me. So that's full of hubris. And the back page of the news, the Windies sweep South Africa 3-0. Shepherd and Hope and Pura and Stein last T20. Dominica, Olympic gold medalist, gets land and cash. All of that is on the back page of the Newsday. Moving on to the Daily Express for today on the front page. Relative of murdered father, daughter writes letter to Rowley on crime. Protect
your people. Take responsibility. Samde Bachan Johnson. It is a completely different type of hurt when it hits your backyard. Enrico was an absolutely wonderful guy, and his daughter just turned 5 years old 2 weeks ago. It is just so hurtful. And that was written by Sandy Bachan Johnson. And there's a picture of Enrico and the 5-year-old daughter. So she's a relative of the murdered father and daughter, and she writes a letter to the Prime Minister on crime. Protect your people. Chin advises tenants pay rent to a movie town. Don't get up all in yourself. Pay rent to movie town. That's on the front page of the Daily Express.
It was strange though that the judge didn't make a decision on that. Yeah.
Well, a judge would probably say, "Look, let me get your legal advice on that issue."
But basically, she left it up to people to decide who they want to pay.
Well, then she left it up to the legal advisors.
Let's continue.
But so maybe she didn't want to weigh in on it, I guess. I don't. School stress. NPTA wants urgent repair dollars and tutor protests health plan. That's on the wraparound of the Express. Well, news is on the back. And the main sports story, sealed in style, Windy sweeps South Africa again in T20. Guardian for today, Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. 60 minutes of hell is the headline that the Guardian went with. Woman and son terrorized, robbed by 7 bandits in home invasion. A Valsine home owner recounts her ordeal during a home invasion in an interview with Guardian Media yesterday. The wire fence the bandits climbed to gain access to a property in Valsine during a home invasion. Kamla in new war with Gary and detractors. So there's a picture of the UNC leader, and Baptist Archbishop beaten and robbed in Port of Spain. On the back page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian today, Windy sweep South Africa 3-0. Everybody agreed that, all the dailies agreed that was the major sports story in the dailies this morning. And that's it for our 3 dailies.
All right, let's get the results of our morning poll where we asked you yesterday. Do you agree with the planned $120 million to be spent on the headquarters for Trinbago? The results are in. 55 said yes. All right.
You gotta booby trap your home, yes? When you're going in the bed, booby trap your home. I don't know what, but booby trap. Find ways of booby trapping your home, yes? As they touch that doorknob, they must get electrocuted. They must drop in a big hole with snake and stakes and all
right. 5 before 7 o'clock. Let's get our morning poll.
It was against the law, right?
Inside your home, if you booby trap inside your home, if they get inside and they drop in a hole, that is against the law?
You can remember that the time when somebody had booby trapped and they cut off somebody's arm and it became a big issue.
Well, it could become a big
our
issue.
Morning poll. Do you think Kamala Prasad Bissessa and Gary Griffith of the NTA will mend the fences in time for the 2025 general elections? Do you think they'll come together, put the differences aside? Yes or no? 222-8255. North Americans, toll free 866-525-1099 on WhatsApp at 3181021.
I'll be very interested to see how Dandy Pigott votes on this poll. I don't care about nobody else. I only care about how Dandy Pigott votes on this poll.
Yeah. All right. So let's go. David Ware says no. Hanif Daniel says no. Richard P. Knight said yes. Carol Guevara says yes. Let me switch to WhatsApp quickly. Anthony in Toronto says yes. Captain Ron says yes. TKR won by 5 wickets. Okay, thank you so much.
Good.
Yeah.
I lost. Okay, Richard Peter, Carol Guevara. Oops. All right, so let's go. Do you think Kamala Persad-Bissessar, the opposition leader of the UNC, and Gary Griffith of the NTA will mend fences in time for the next general elections? Yes or no? All right, hit us up. Got some calls coming through. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Kansas City, I'm back for a few days, and then I will be back in street but messed up Trinidad and Tobago. My answer is no.
Oh dear.
All righty. You're real traveling. Good morning.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. All right. Paul, you left out the word think. Do you think Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Gary Griffith will mend fences for the next general elections? Yes or no? Let's see. Got some. We did. Bill Corder says yes. CJ New York says yes. Slick Money Grip says yes. Wayne Bennett, yes. Beauty culture, thanks. Anderson Matthew, okay. Wayne Joseph in Ontario, Canada says in Simcoe, okay, says yes. Okay, Rita Boodoo Jennings, yes. Lester Craigwell, no. Mrs. R, where did she go? Yes. DL, yes. Lyndon Lessie, okay, just vote yes or no, please. Julia S. Batiste says no. Ray Garcia, yes. Anderson, yes. Kyle Cupid, no. Who's this here? Debbie says yes. Somebody else says yes from across the pond. Somebody else says yes. Yes, they will. I got. Right, did Kyle Cupid. Do you think Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Gary Griffith will mend fences in time for the next general elections to be held in 2025? That is our poll this morning. You have a minute and a half to vote. So let's get cracking. What
to do? Yeah, cracking.
Crapping. What is crapping? Let's get crapping. What is that? Let's see. Cynthia Aaron, yes to the poll. Donna Clark, yes. Morning Andre says no.
You miss beauty culture.
I'm not going to say I miss beauty culture says yes. Lyndon had said yes. All right. Do you think Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Gary Griffith will fall in love once again for the next general elections?
It's a good thing you say that, Justin.
Yes or no? And Augustine says no. Ooh. I almost said something else. I almost said something. Sexy San Fernando says no to the poll. Let's see. Morning, Patos.
So Adande Pega didn't vote yet?
No.
Right. So do you think Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Gary Griffith will mend fences in time for the 2025 general elections? That's our poll this morning. What says you?
All right. Anthony Tinto, quickly. Okay. Kadeem Khan. We just want votes. All right. Let's get into our 7 o'clock major news. Continue to vote on our mobile app and on our website. Let's get into it. Aviation.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Another home invasion in Valsayn as 7 bandits traumatized the family. Senate Vice President Dr. Mohammed Yunus Ibrahim selected to contest the Barataria San Juan seat for the PNM in the next general election. High public expenditure, concern raised by economist Dr. Terence Farrell. Government forms 14-member Food Security and Food Prices Committee, and PSA President Leroy Batiste calls on government to pay into its medical plan over $80 million needed to pay public officers. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel Bob. Good morning. Citizens continue to be under siege as home invasions continue after the home of a medical professional in Valsayn, North Trinidad, was invaded by 7 bandits on Monday afternoon. The owner, her son, and a female employee endured an hour of terror and suffering after the phone lines were cut and they were tied up and robbed of cash, jewelry, alcohol, and other valuables. Residents of the area are now rushing to strengthen security measures at their homes as they say a gang is operating in the area. According to police reports, at about 1:45 p.m., the homeowner and her family lost thousands of dollars worth of items from their heavily fortified home. The bandits entered the home and announced a holdup, telling the occupants that they came for jewels and money. The woman said she had some cash at home, which was to be used to pay workers, which she showed to him and which he took. He then demanded jewelry. Pointing him to where she kept the valuables, she said he emptied boxes and drawers, leaving items scattered and clothing strewn on the floor and bed. Her son was bound and gagged in his bedroom, while at least 4 other men were in the house searching the library, living room, kitchen, from where they removed a quantity of alcohol. The bandits eventually left the traumatized family, who called the police. The family's ordeal lasted about 60 minutes. Investigations are continuing. The joint funeral of slain businessman Enrico Guerra and his 5-year-old daughter will take place at the family's home at St. Mary's Village in Moruga today, August 28th. The funeral is set to start at 2 p.m., after which a street procession is planned from the house to the cemetery at Taylor Trace. 34-year-old Guerra, owner of Enrico Cornamart, and his daughter Anika Guerra were killed on August 21st at around 9:45 p.m. by persons armed with guns. Guerra died on the spot. The child was taken to the Princestown District Health Facility, where she later died. Senate Vice President Dr. Mohammed Yunus Ibrahim has been selected to contest the Barataria Sanwan seat for the People's National Movement in the upcoming general election, and PNM Senator Renuka Ragoobarsingh Suklal has again been chosen to contest St. Augustine. This was indicated by PNM officials yesterday following Monday's screening at PNM's Balize House headquarters of nominees for 5 seats. 4 southern seats were screened last Friday. In June, the PNM mandated its executives in the 9 opposition-held areas to seek nominees. The PNM's Barataria Sanwan constituency executive had submitted the names of 4 nominees to the party: Ibrahim, Social Development Minister Donna Cox, Police Officer Roger Mohammed, and businessman Sharif Ali. It is understood that Ibrahim received the most support from the party group. Ibrahim is the nephew of TNT's first Senate president under the Republican Constitution, the late Dr. Wahid Ali, who served from 1971 to 1986. Minister of Agriculture Kazim Hossain has presented letters of appointment to the 14 members of the Food Security and Food Prices Committee. The presentations were done at the ministry Shoguna's offices on Monday. Minister Hossain said this was a pivotal step in the government's commitment to ensuring access to affordable and nutritious food for all. Trinidad and Tobago's food import bill has ballooned over years to just under $8 billion. The Food Security and Food Prices Committee is comprised of experts in agriculture, economics, nutrition, trade, and consumer advocacy, so that rising food prices can be addressed from different angles and by diverse stakeholders. PSA President Leroy Batiste is calling on government to pay into its medical plan over $80 million needed to pay public officers, including teachers, the funds it says the government owes them in medical reimbursements. The group health plan was established by the employer for both daily and monthly rated employees in the public and teaching services. The plan is administered by a committee of representatives of the Chief Personnel Officer, Ministry of Finance, Tutor, and Public Services Association. Batiste said the plan was government insurance that workers were obligated to use. He said the last count they had on the committee, in excess of $80 million, is owed by the TT government on behalf of public officers and, by extension, teachers. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. There is concern coming from economist Dr. Terence Farrell on what has been described as high public sector expenditure. He made the remark after being questioned on the upcoming national budget and what the population can expect. Dr. Farrell said action must be taken to ensure the economic model, which has been used by various governments since the 1970s, is adjusted. This approach, he claimed, is required, especially amid declines in oil and gas revenues, rising debt, challenges to get foreign exchange, and increasing liabilities. Dr. Farrell said in the upcoming election, the public might notice a possible increase in spending. However, with declining revenues, this could see a serious area which might be reviewed and changes made accordingly.
As the revenues decline, you can see certain things beginning to happen. You can see the debt going up, both domestic debt and external debt going up. You see the international reserves, the foreign exchange reserves declining, and forex availability is down. You see the central bank recently reduced the reserve requirement, in my view, purely to accommodate increased government borrowing, and that is domestic borrowing from the commercial banking system, with all kinds of implications in terms of potential for increases in credit expansion, for increases in the money supply.
Commenting on gas production deals entered into by the government, Dr. Farrell described it as delicate and also took note of existing gas fields, which are declining.
Manatee comes on stream, and you get access to the Lauren part of the Lauren Manatee field. And there's another smaller field, that you can have access to. Yes, those things will help, but I'm saying that what they will not take you back up to 4.2 BCF. They will not even take you back up to 3.5 BCF. Remember, with every day that passes, your existing fields are depleting. So you've got to run faster to deal with that, and also to add a capacity.
You made the comments while speaking on the Power Breakfast program on Tuesday. Well, finally, here's weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, generally fair conditions, interrupted by partly cloudy to cloudy intervals with occasional showers. There is a medium chance of these showers becoming heavy and or thundery at times from mid to late morning. Nighttime will become settled despite a few lingering showers. Gusty winds and street or flash flooding can occur in the event of heavy showers or thunderstorms. Expect a temperature high of 32 degrees Celsius, both at Piarco International Airport and Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at Piarco is 26 degrees Celsius, as well as Crown Point in Tobago. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, another home invasion in Valsayn. 7 bandits traumatized a family. Senate Vice President Dr. Mohammed Yunus Ibrahim selected to contest the Barataria San Juan seat for the PNM in the upcoming general election. High public expenditure, a concern raised by economist Dr. Terence Farrell. Government forms 14-member Food Security and Food Prices Committee, and PSA President Leroy Batiste calls on the government to pay into its medical plan over $80 million needed for public officers. I'm Avril Sindhill-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. All righty. Yeah, I need a raise. So thank you so much. You can join her again come 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right. Quickly taking a look at traffic. I saw there was an accident just by the vicinity of the lighthouse. Apparently, it's still there. It is westbound Beetham, just past the lighthouse. So please take your time. At least it's not eastbound, but it's westbound, so it's going to create some traffic. All right. Apart from that, usual stuff. This morning, your traffic has started. Well, that accident has caused some traffic. You're picking up traffic from the Uriah Butler intersection heading into Port of Spain. All right. So. Yep, that's a backlog. Hope they get it cleared shortly. All right. Let's see if we have any more votes at this time. Cheryl Henry says yes. Lawrence Charles says yes.
Lawrence Charles said no, Steve.
Sorry, I'm just going to say that. So Lawrence Charles says no. Kenny and Harlem says yes. Finbar Collins says no. Marcia Rock says no. Right, and that's it. And let's go to WhatsApp. Bobby, morning, Bobby says yes. Cascade St. Anne's says no. All right, so that's our votes.
All right, so we had 38 people voting on the poll this morning. So our poll this morning is, do you think Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Gary Griffith will mend fences in time for the 2025 general elections? We had 38 people voting on the poll this morning, and of the 38 people, 25 of you said yes, you do think they will mend fences, and 13 of you said no, you do not think they will mend fences. So the yeses have it this morning by a majority. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day through our programming, and we give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be Thursday, as we get towards the weekend. And the holiday on Saturday, which is not a holiday on Friday, except if you.
But it's Pan on the Avenue. Better yet, it's Pan on the Avenue on Saturday.
Or Saturday evening.
Yeah. But I'm predicting that Gary Griffith, as I said, I've made it very clear, will go back with the UNC, simply because, I mean, he has said already that he has to join a political party to get relevance or to get power or whatever it is he seeks. But he is going back in an organization where allegedly there was a well-oiled criminal enterprise in something called live sport. And I remember Gary Griffith's stance on that when he was in that government. I remember his stance. He was against it. You understand? So how is he going back in there? But guess what? He going back here. Watch and see. All of a sudden, you'll stop hearing about failure. You'll stop hearing about 5-day weekends. All of them things will be thing of the past. Who is a failure and who was only having 5-day weekends? All of a sudden, you ain't going to hear nothing about plant-like substance on a windowsill. You ain't going to hear nothing about excess fuels. Yeah, all that, they're burying all that. But that they're making a huge mistake with that gambling and marijuana thing. They're making a huge mistake with that. But let's see how it goes for them. You understand? Saying that you want to raise the age of gambling to 25 and raise the age of marijuana use to 25.
I think so. I think that I want to agree with you there, Wendell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a politically astute move. I think you're actually attacking the youth vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's not something that will endear you to the 18 to 25-year-olds. The 18 to 25-year-olds are not going to say, oh, good, they hear the UNC saying they will stop us smoking marijuana and stop us gambling. I will go in and vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, if we're going out in droves, it's time this nonsense stop.
So I think it's a big misstep to put that in your manifesto.
Huge mistake.
From a political point of view.
Yeah.
Especially those Gen Zers who are a little bit more liberal about things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A little bit more liberal and relaxed about life. The things that they're more upset about, things like climate change and things like that. Those kinds of policies of inclusion and climate change and stuff like that are what affects Gen Zers more. In terms of them getting your vote. But saying you're going to penalize them specifically as a group and telling them you cannot smoke marijuana and you cannot gamble, you cannot go and buy that cash pot.
Well, listen to me. I went to Trinity Mall Saturday.
Is silly from a political point of view.
I was in Trinity Mall Saturday.
It sounds like a policy of somebody over the age of 70. I don't know who in the party that did it, but it sounds like, somebody over the age of 70 saying, I don't find them children should be smoking and gambling. That not going to sit well with that group.
No, it's not. And if they feel, and because I know how some of them is thinking, if they feel that wouldn't affect their support base, and you know where I'm coming from, then they are sadly mistaken. Because I went Trinity Mall Saturday. The line to the Playboy booth was longer than the line buying food. You know what I'm telling you? The line in the middle of the mall, and you can't miss it. All who lining up to go by the little kiosk there. Longer than the line to go for food.
Well, it is $11 million plus.
Yeah. It
Carla Cupid, it was,
it's 11 now.
Carla Cupid, it was Althea Rock, not Marcia Rock.
Yeah, it was Althea.
If you are interested in a great conference focusing on abuse, trauma, child welfare, you can check out the International Society of Family Law 4th Caribbean Regional Conference, taking place at the Hilton Trinidad and Conference Center from November 13th to 15th. It is focused on the Convention on the Rights of the Child at 35 years, a promise kept or a promise deferred. So you can check out their website.
Sorry, go ahead.
Send an email to ISFL Regional Conference 2024 at gmail.com, right? So,
yeah, I think a more productive approach, if the UNC really feels strongly about the issue of marijuana usage in the 18 to 25 group and gambling in the 18 to 25 group, and I don't know what the data is with regard to usage of both of those kinds of items, gambling and marijuana usage in that group. But if you're concerned about it, a more productive use would be marketing campaigns directed to that age group, whether it be TikTok, whether it be other forms of social media. Well, they're not really on Facebook. They're more on Instagram and TikTok. Mm-hmm. They're not on Facebook. Facebook is for older people, like I told you. But Instagram and TikTok is where that group is. Mm. And some of them on Twitch because they're gamers. So that's where you have to target those ads. And you target the ads about the use of marijuana and the issue of gambling in that age group. You don't make it a legislative issue.
In addition, Richard, because this is something I actually submitted a question based on, was since the passage and proclamation of the law related to decriminalizing marijuana, how many persons who were charged and incarcerated for marijuana use have been released and their records expunged? Has NADAP done a survey of if there has been an increase in marijuana use or not, and consequent drug addiction issues? Because marijuana can at times be a gateway drug. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that people need to be doing when you pass laws like that, to see the effect of the laws, you understand, on the wider society, and if the intention of the law had been achieved or not, and not just walk around guessing.
I tell you, the UNC, when I listen to them sometimes, yes, wonder if they're really serious about governance, you know, if they're cool in opposition, you know, because you bringing up these issues that will alienate a whole part of the society, especially along the East-West corridor. You can't win power if you don't win the East-West corridor, you know. You come with that nonsense on the East-West corridor, they'll run you, you know.
Are you saying that the East-West corridor smokes and gambles more?
No, I didn't say that. You didn't listen to me. I said you're alienating a whole part of the society in terms of the age group. And if you have to win power, you have to win the East-West corridor. And amongst the East-West corridor, we know we have a lot of people who do that. I'm not saying that I have it all over, you know. And I think that is where the UNC is mistaken. They are thinking that there's only one group of people who that is going to affect. No. Everybody, you'll be surprised you're driving in those areas where there are people who look like, let me see, like Mr. Imbert, smoking like mad. And
you feel there's only 18-year-old smoke?
Huh?
Magistrates, judges.
Everybody.
What, members of parliament?
You know where they go and do it freely?
Where?
Up in Europe. They go to those concerts and they go to Amsterdam and so on.
Or you feel they don't do it here? Okay.
Well, I know they're doing it here, but when they do it there now, they could do it with a certain level of freedom. You understand?
I saw pictures of a reggae concert recently in Trinidad and Tobago. where I saw past the that she was passing pretty casually.
Oh God, you're
On
showing
the
age
left-hand
there.
side.
Pass the Dutchie. He's showing age there. Pass the Dutchie.
I have no problem showing my age, Wendell.
But
Man said,
man,
pass the
For some
Dutchie.
reason, you all have an issue. You and Ragoobarsingh have an issue showing your age. I don't.
80s is like 45 years ago.
Oh, God. You know, you just half of the listeners now want to know what did Paul just say? Pass the.
Actually, I don't
But
think
then
our
only because
demographic-
he ain't catcher, he had no problem.
our audience is not half. I think most of the audience know exactly what I'm talking about. Good morning, Zena. You're missing in action.
She said she
Like
took a
asking about
vacation.
you.
She's answering via proxy.
Oh God, Finbar, don't remind us, son.
You understand?
Oh God, Finbar Collins, you're not easy, you know.
So, if you think it's only 18-year-old along the East West corridor smoking ganja, no. Watch me. And that is before the law decriminalized, okay?
Exactly. They're making a huge mistake there. I'm sure they'll remove it after they listen to this Power Breakfast show. Yeah, they're gonna remove it.
So
You can imagine.
Are you saying both the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition are guided by the utterances of this show?
They should remove the whip when they're voting for that limits. I know a few of them, you know, inside of there. You know. They should remove the whip and let them vote.
Right, gentlemen, since my guest is unable to make it this morning, we'll take some
voting how they want to the whip removed.
True, eh?
You don't have to remove the whip so people they vote how they want.
All of them going back there.
Yeah. All right, let's grab some calls, guys. Good morning.
Hey, morning, Paul, Wendell.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Patrick.
I had some nice discussion this morning about this marijuana thing. You know, a lot of people don't understand the effects marijuana does have on your brain. A lot of people don't understand the effect there. I have friends working in psychiatric, and they say since that bill was passed to decriminalize marijuana, the place get more crowded. I have some friends working in schools and school guidance.
And it's because of marijuana.
Yes. Marijuana.
It's not because of the psychological stress of COVID and stuff like that and other things that contribute. Because when they came in, filled out a form and said, yes, I used to smoke marijuana, and therefore, this is why I come inside it, right?
They passed that bill before COVID. Right?
Mr. Patrick,
a lot of
spare me with the speculation, please.
Hello. This is data proven.
What is data proven?
Mr. Patrick,
your friends working and say, hey, you know, we have more people coming in and I think it's marijuana is data driven.
Hello.
Empirical evidence.
When they had a report from the parents and then they said the children never say no marijuana. Look, in a lot of schools, the school guidance officer is telling a lot of children drop back in the grades and some even drop out. And let me tell you, it's not marijuana we talk about, only marijuana. It's a black cigarette. It's a different kind of marijuana.
Mr. Patrick, they always had those things, you know.
They always had those things. I don't think there's necessarily an uptick.
By
the data.
The government based on the law embolden the children.
How?
They say they can lock you up now.
What?
They say they can charge you now.
Mr. Patrick, unless you come up with some data, stop with the speculation, please.
All right. But what I'm more interested is the food import bill thing we're talking about. As I tell you, I went in the grocery the other day and I see a crate for $58. Organic egg. What kind of chicken lay egg, right?
It's free range chicken, and when they're not being served with antibiotics and other stuff like that.
So I want to
you can tell a healthier egg by the color of the egg.
But I see the whole glass case with the egg. So therefore, the cheaper egg, I ain't seen none. Because people buy that already. Right? So how would they delay with it?
I don't eat egg. I can't help it.
But people are often going for healthier choices. Some people, there's a whole market for healthier choices.
There is.
Even though they're more expensive.
You can buy healthy food. You can buy healthy food with $3,000 NIS. $3,000 NIS. And the government saying now that test and test again $3,000 oldest pension. All them politicians and them, it's 72,000 pension and thing going up the road. And judges. So the small man can live at all then.
Mr. Patrick, you just smoke a Dutch, you pass a Dutchy and you just scatter all over the place this morning.
Yeah, you're talking about different topics. From one topic.
Did somebody pass a Dutchy?
No, I'm talking about different issues. The food prices and the pension, all I'm talking about.
Mr. Patrick, have you ever smoked a day in your life? Have you ever smoked?
I'm going to be smoked twice. According to Paul.
I know that.
You cannot tell. You see, you prove the data right. You see how when you smoke, how you'll be talking a certain thing? You just prove it right.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Patrick. Lots of calls. Good morning. Good morning.
We play tag there, Wendell. We play tag there.
Yeah, man?
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
Yes. Good morning to Wendell and Paul. Well, I just listen to your whole show. I just seldom call because most of the views expressed by you all, I know I agree, but I agree with Wendell and Richard. They have alienated the Holy Spirit. I live in Arriba. 18 to 25, 12 smoking, plenty young people are smoking. Sandy Valley, the East-West corridor has the heaviest smoking population. I can tell you, I was a man, was in rehab, was a drug push. So I don't know what went up in their mental faculty. And secondly, I don't know if they're suffering with a dereliction of mind bordering on the brink of insanity. To invite a Rabbi Rosa, a loose cannon like Annie Roberts, who was in charge of Lifeboat. May know UNC up here. But something has to be wrong with their head. I think they need a whole psychiatric and psychological evaluation. It seems like it's a waste of time. And Gary Griffith, I don't like it because I think they made a gross error when Gary Griffith became Commissioner of Police and no man was engaged in dubious activities, have a lot of ghosts. They trembled, you know. They trembled. I hear men talk, this Gary will be a problem. But you know the politics of the day. But Anil Roberts and the 18 to 25 UNC already think that because already lost the election. Later.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, so we're taking some of your calls. 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. Good WhatsApp at 3181021. Of course, our morning poll is still on the screen. You can vote on it via our mobile app, which you should have by now, just for Power 102 Digital, whatever platform you're on. Or you could go to our website at power102fm.com. And our poll question was, do you think Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and Gary Griffith will mend the fences in time for general elections come 2025? All right. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning, Steve. I am surprised. I was out for a little bit and I just came back and I see you taking calls. Very nice.
Yeah, my guest, something came up and he can't make it this morning.
Right. Because I just went up. Wendell, I went up and we want to come back down, you know.
Yeah.
So,
in that traffic?
Well, going up don't have no traffic and I'm come back down.
Oh.
And I'm back home and I'm glad to take a call. You know, I don't understand something for the life of me. If I have to choose those, if I have to choose one of those bad drugs like marijuana and alcohol, I consider alcohol a drug. Eh? To me, alcohol does more damage than the little smoker people might take. Because alcohol does so many things to your brain, to your mind, it mash up family, it do all kinds of things. So why alcohol is never part of things to ban or to raise the age limit to? And young people drinking alcohol, I mean...
Ms. Dabadi?
All Dr. Paul. Yes, I'm listening.
You know, there are whole theses written on this. You know, there was one time when marijuana, alcohol, all this was prohibited. And then big business aligned itself with alcohol and it was decriminalized. You know, it's all about money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess so. But marijuana have money in it too.
Let me ask you something.
Kill.
Let me ask you something. Do you see any large organizations declaring profits on marijuana use as opposed to alcohol?
No, well,
large companies?
No, well, it had no company be that
right.
as yet.
And therein lies your answer. It's all about commerce and money.
Yeah, but I always find, young people drinking alcohol, they talk about marijuana and gambling at a young age. People 12 years and 11 years drinking alcohol. I have seen it myself. I've gone to the Oval for myself. I was so upset. I had to tell the man about it. I reached in the Oval like early in the morning and the cricket started, but this little 12-year-old boy was being served strong alcohol and I watching that and I say, do tell me man go and get that boy to drink. And I talked to him myself, and when the boy put the glasses, a plastic cup to his mouth, I said, excuse, you getting his son to drink that? He a customer. I said, oh my gosh. And I wonder what is the plight of that young man today, if he around. That is irks me. Alcohol is so worse off than any other thing. I don't care. I never smoke none of them things, but to me, alcohol, I've seen it. And it is the worst thing. Why? You see, big business, all these big companies, all these they sponsor a lot of things, and it's named alcohol. You see? That is what I detest. But my final point, I think, you see how Gary Griffith named himself as the candidate for St. Joseph? He did that in a way to kind of let Ms. Kamala Professor kind of make up her mind fast, Because he said, he tell himself, if I don't do that, they will dilly-dally.
Yeah, St. Joseph supposed to be the main battleground in this coming election.
Yes, it is. That was my old voting place, St. Joseph. But
we're going strictly based on the election results of the last one, because I think
weird,
Terence Yalsing has done a fantastic job. But again,
I think people from where I used to live before, they said he doing work because he visits areas. People say he ain't doing nothing, but he goes to areas in Champlain where my mom still lives. He goes to see what is going on in those areas and work is being done. So the only problem we have in there is water sometimes, but that is a perennial thing since I'm small. And water right next door. Anyway, you all have a wonderful.
All right.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, Pete Ajamu Watkins.
What's that?
No, I was telling Keith Watkins good morning. He said he think having some of the regular callers as guest hosts may make for some great entertainment.
Good morning to the panel.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, well, my topic is concerning the marijuana. I know in my days, with the marijuana, we used to have local marijuana, right? I don't know if you know now, it have different grades of marijuana, different names, right? It have one that they call cripple. Like it says, that have one that they call cripple. I know that somebody smoked that. Hello?
Yeah.
No, I never heard of the word of cripple.
Yeah, of course it have cripple. And the marijuana that they're smoking now is laced with different kind of chemicals. It's not like the local where you used to be smoking and you get a little high and you're feeling good. Understand it? Yes, if you go and research it, you will see all the different names and you will see all the different kind of chemicals it have in it. So in a sense, the younger one who's smoking, it could really, really set them off mentally. Understand? So that is my take on it this morning. Thanks a lot.
All right. I never heard of cripple, but I know there are several different grades of marijuana. Lord knows in Amsterdam, you walk through the streets of Amsterdam and go in those coffee shops, they have all manner of things that you could try. You understand? As a matter of fact, I have a lollipop. I brought back a lollipop. Well, I got
Wendell.
it. It's in my bag still.
Wendell.
I dare not try it.
You brought back a lollipop?
Yeah, they have lollipops made out of marijuana.
Why did you bring back a lollipop then if you weren't going to try it? You wanted to give somebody it?
Well, yeah, I bring back some sweets too that has some very odd shapes. It's
They have a lollipop song too, you know.
They have,
Lollipop.
I mean,
lollipop.
it's a lollipop too, so it's meant for licking, but I don't
They
have to
keep
tell you
on
what it
kicking.
looks like.
I don't know. Could you
You want me to tell you what it look like?
could you offer more clarity?
You're fighting to ask that question, Paul.
Good
Good morning, caller.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
You know, I was listening to the marijuana talk, and it reminded me of walking along Diego Martin Main Road from midnight mass, and there were about 13 of us, maybe around the age of 12, 13, 14. And a gentleman came behind us and was encouraging us to buy marijuana from him, and we were frightened. So, but we ran down. We were living in Diamond Vale. We went down in Diamond Vale, and that was our biggest issue. But strange enough, within 3 weeks, one of our colleagues brought marijuana into the group. And the curiosity of young fellas, and even young girls eventually, so many of us started to smoke. But as it was in those days, as the lady said, it was a kind of local kind of thing. And eventually, I would say that most of us stopped before maybe the age of 17, 18, but some continued. Now, because of that kind of experience, I tend to agree with Paul, and therefore it became one of my objectives to prevent my children from engaging in the use of marijuana before they were adults. So I would always tell them that from even a very young age, you know, and talk to them about it and what that. And it seemed to have been successful because, you know, I can't say that any of them didn't try it, but as adults now, you know, it's kind of nice to see that they could make the choice now if they want, which they have not done, you know. But I think that the policy by the UNC that they announced in the manifesto would really backfire because just from experience and looking at the landscape, the amount of people utilizing marijuana is extremely large. It always was, you know, because, for instance, I will end by saying this. Not only in Diamond Vale, the teenagers used to use marijuana. All in Victoria Gardens, Dorrington Gardens, all about Woodbrook, where we had parties as young people. But it's nice to see that some of them are senior counsels, some of them are specialist medical, you know, to go on with the life. You know?
You're exposing people without calling names they call. I like that.
No, that's the reality, you know.
No, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
Yeah,
some of them are presiding in our courts today.
Thank you.
As long as they don't abuse it and they don't how I should put it, it don't affect them in their judgments and so on. I mean, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with marijuana smokers. As long as you don't smoke it by me, next to me. Smoke how much you want, don't come next to me and smoke. That's all.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning, fellas. I think to me, is the addiction personality. Professor Hinklin, a Jamaican psychiatrist, mentioned in our talk that Caribbean people have an addictive personality in the sense that we overeat, oversex, overdrink. Anything that we could put in our orifices, we overdo. And I think that is a very interesting kind of way to look at it.
That is quite a statement, Dean.
Yeah, well, as Professor Hinklin, I didn't say it. I said Professor Hinklin.
And he's the expert and he's the authority on Caribbean people and their proposed addiction.
Yeah, he's one of the leading psychiatrists in a thing. He studied, researched addictive personalities. That's why he came down to Trinidad. He was in Trinidad and he was giving a talk at Studio 66. I don't know if you're aware of who Professor Hinkling is. He's an authority, a Caribbean authority, biggity dance. So that's Professor Hinkling. He was a professor. So, no, but the thing is, well, me coming around out of around the addiction rehabilitation thing, and I've met all sorts of people on the crime. So I recognized that I didn't realize that, it had people who are addicted, eating disorders. It had a thing. But the issue about addiction personality and the addictive personality and the issues and the emotional issues connected to your addiction or your drug of choice, that when you haven't dealt with it properly, you're unemotionally unhinged, and things happen that the drug. So when somebody like could take it and be cool and calm, other people grappling with a set of issues. So you see it in the alcohol. When a person drink and he gets angry, and somebody, two friends, and they just blow up, and they want to know, what are you blowing up so for, boy? We were just drinking. But the drinking triggers his anger in a situation that was something that he's dealing with, and it creates a situation. Now, the other thing is, physiologically and psychologically, you mightn't be able to handle it. So you drink, one person could drink, I could drink 5 beers, and one drink 1 beer, and he fall down. And like what you were saying, you take your smoke, you start to giggle, and then you start to laugh, another person saying, and on all those kind of different kind of issues. But for me, I find it's always interesting how the emotion is triggered by the drug that is being taken. So, like people eating chocolate, they get real calm. I had friends who are addicted to, if they can get a coffee in the morning, headaches. Yep. And I tell the person, I say, hey,
Richard.
And I said, hey, you're addicted. You're an addict, you're a coffee addict, walking around twitching during the day, you had a game effect. But that's just the piper play there. That's the piper. Rush in, grab your coffee. That's the same thing. We have 100 things like that. And then the other one, my father was in the corporate sector. The 3 o'clock martini corporate person who must get a drink at 3 o'clock. They go, they get a drink. And they had to do, in Amoko, they had to do interventions in that with the executives drinking at a certain time to get, because it's stress. And the stress leads them to the drinking. And when you're drinking on stress and on certain things, it have all sorts of different kind of interesting ramifications around addiction. Or the drug that you're taking and you're not realizing you're emotional, unhinged, and things like that. That's why when people doing the spirit quest and thing, you have to release certain things to do your spirit quest. All them young people going to Peru and thing, it's spirit quest, they travel it, or they travel. People love to go.
I know I have addictions. I've had some recent ones, but I know one of my addiction is traveling, because I spend a lot of time looking to see where next to go and looking to see the bargain I could get through either my connection with AA or my mileage. I am addicted to traveling. I am not ashamed of that at all. You understand? I mean, the traveling triggers other addictions, but I am addicted to traveling. I'm telling you. Addictions aren't always bad, but you're right, Dean. Coffee, there's a coffee addiction, there's a chocolate addiction, there's a sugar addiction. There are people addicted to, drinking, gambling, smoking. There are people addicted to this radio program, trust me. Sometimes I get messages from people all manner of the day and night about this program because they have an addiction to it. There a lady I met in Pan and Powder. She said, Wendell, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I was
You know that liking something is not necessarily an indication of an addiction, right?
No.
And addiction has a particular definition. So be careful how you use the word being addicted to certain things. You may like traveling. That doesn't mean that you're addicted to it, and you will go and damage other parts of your life and neglect your duties and neglect your job and neglect your family because you have to travel, which is more in line with an addiction diagnosis.
Okay, but that's okay. That's why I said not all addictions are bad addictions.
Well, because it's not an addiction. It's a love for something. You need to be careful how you're using the word addiction. Addiction is a definition.
I think I'm addicted because sometimes I just say to hell with everything and everybody else, and I go and jump.
But that's a decision. But that doesn't mean you're going to put your life, your job in jeopardy, your relationships in jeopardy. There is a definition for addiction as opposed to liking something a lot or not.
Well, I like it a lot.
Well, I know you may have other addictions. I don't know about traveling. You may like traveling, but you may have other addictions.
I do.
Where there's a compulsion so strong you cannot resist in the face of dire danger to aspects of your life.
Oh dear, how you? Like you're my doctor, boy.
So, on a serious note, if it's an addiction, it means you will have a tendency to neglect and damage aspects of your life to pursue that particular addiction, as opposed to liking something a lot and making a decision to do that because you like it. Addiction is something completely different. Addiction means you have a compulsion that you cannot control.
Richard, like Paul knows something Paul knows something or?
Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning to everyone there.
Good morning.
In relation to your topic about the herb, it's a very good topic, but it has to be addressed in such a way that if parents listening, they could actually know what to tell their kids that will make a meaningful conversation that they may deter the kid. One of the things that happen when children 15, 14, 15 smoke marijuana now that is different to the children in the 70s and early 80s is this ganja now is not our original seed. I don't even know if we have our original seed. I know GA have all their product and America have it and so on. This new ganja and the seed that come from South America, which they got their product from somewhere else, what it actually does now, even adults, it makes them forget. But as a kid, within 5 minutes of smoking, that kid can't remember anything. Sometimes it blacks out in your mind. It also happens with your eyes, where your eye open, but you're not really seeing at times. Then your vision will come back. Long ago, people would talk about, oh yeah, we use ganja, good for your eye and glaucoma and jaco and all kind of things. Now, using ganja and using the wrong product that they call in ganja creates dry eyes now. So you'll find in the night, people could become blurred. Picture that person going out on the road and not understanding what he had, because you will use sativa in the day, and when they're ready to sleep at night, you may use indica. But what the product that is going around in Trinidad, people don't know what it is. But I would like to talk to the parents that is there. Try having a conversation with a child and see if he could remember what you just told him. And prove to him that you could know if he comes home and he is high. Not all smells, because now they use hemp now and they put so much other things in hemp. Hemp grows faster. 56 days, you could have hemp on the scene. So a lot of people using hemp now, because when America gets involved in something, they don't want to wait 9 months. They want something coming in 6 weeks. So a lot of these places using hemp with additives in it. Now, we are doing a good and we're doing a bad at the same time when we those who plant in Trinidad. Because picture someone spend 9 months growing a good product and then they destroy it to have these other products that come in from South America. That man who was in the field, he become frustrated, he come back in the city, he might have been away from his woman for a while, came back after 9 months with no money. She asked him, what you do all the time, you come back now to me X, Y, and Z? He go out there now and he turn a bandit. Because 9 months he didn't get anything. So you have to know how to really go about this. I believe they need to leave some of the fields to grow. That will help curb the crime in Trinidad, because we may be getting close to our original seed or grow from our soil.
Yeah.
Coffee, you go somewhere else and plant to get that blue mountain coffee. Your soil have a lot to do with how the people operate. We smoking things from other countries right now. We have no locals to compete with it.
But caller,
looking for something else.
Well, since it was decriminalized, and you're allowed to grow 4 trees per adult in a household.
But
so
how
by
they
now, people should have been harvesting from the trees.
Yeah, but how they get any seed to plant? And how they show is a good seed to grow? You could plant it as a male seed. You have to know to get the right seed. You could put on a dozen seed, and you don't know how much female plants get because the female plants, you want the male plant. You follow? We have to devise a method how to make adults buy seed. It has good seed around. It has good hybrid seed. America did only decriminalize it, but they made they tampered with it to suit everybody's needs. Who suffer with certain problem, they know the product that they need to grow. But we decriminalize it without any kind of foresight how to function. You follow? So if a child starts at 14 smoking what they have now smoking, by the time they're 18, 19, for 4 years nothing meant anything. You think that child could become so productive in life? When we were smoking this in the 70s, we would go out there and weld. Man, it's a big spliff under his shield and pull in weed. This is how it was. Some of the best artists was doing that. Some of the best panmen was smoking.
That I know. That I know.
We didn't need our arranger to make us know. We'll whistle, and the next man pick up a whistle, and so he picked that on the pan, and that's how it was going. But that is not what they're today. What they're today, you need to get it across to the children. This is not your grandfather weed. This is only call weed. This is all kind of spray thing. They put not only that and all. You got to watch what chemical coming in your country. If you watch what chemical buying a lot, you will know what product they have in Trinidad. We're talking about weed, but if they start to watch what type of chemicals, be it for dogs, be it for animals, and if that's selling a lot, you can link it to what other products producing in Trinidad. Because a lot of other things they're producing in Trinidad. But that's a topic for another day. It's have to know the story that all you need to really get, and not somebody who talk about ganja because, well, they hear about it as well. Somebody really know the changes that has gone on in ganja now. This is Jamaica still had a story. But you think South America gain anything? They gain you all kind of wash off of things. Anyhow, that's enough for now. Let's make over.
But guys, you all remember when we spoke to, I think it's Dr. Pottinger, Anthony Pottinger. He has a wealth of experience with this, you know.
Yeah. The simple meaning of addiction. This is not the diagnostic manual definition by any means. It's a compulsive, chronic, physiological or psychological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity having harmful physical, psychological, and social effects, typically causing well-defined symptoms including anxiety, irritability, tremors, and nausea sometimes. People have sugar addictions.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a well-defined. So when you say addiction, you have to be.
But I don't know that it has any negative effect on me at all.
Well, exactly. So your traveling may not have a negative effect on you. Something you like.
No, what
the other things that you're engaged in that you often send to me, those are more along the lines of addiction.
Is it? Well, then it ain't doing me any bad at all.
Staying quiet on that one.
The things that you go to those sites for, that you like to share.
Brother man, people will be sending them things to me,
And why do you send them to me? That's
because you're like-minded.
I never invited you sending them to me.
You're like, because you sent to me, I sent it back to you.
I don't send anything to you like that.
You're like-minded.
I don't. I don't say any
Richard
such thing.
Boy,
You keep sending these things to me unsolicited.
You see, listen, I send them to adults who I know who don't have a child to open the phone for them.
Okay, and I qualify.
Yes, you qualify.
So that's nothing to do whether I asked for them or not.
Nah, I know you. Anyway, don't let me expose you.
All right, let's grab this call, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good morning, Captain Ron.
Hi, Captain Ron.
Morning. Listen, this marijuana thing, I heard what is important thing. He's right when they're calling different people in all walks of life for doing it. But in the aviation profession, you cannot do it. We get spot check. I just had a spot check. As soon as you step off the airplane, from pilot to flight attendant, you get spot check. And you mustn't have that in your system. You mustn't have that, or whatever the effect it does to your body. There's some sort of residue that stays there. And if you have that, you can be in trouble. If you have alcohol or certain type of pills that they do for drugs, we mustn't have that. So the aviation authorities will never, in this lifetime, clear people in my profession to smoke marijuana. As a matter of fact,
Heavily regulated.
yes, if someone is doing on the airplane, we have the right to land the airplane anywhere we feel and call the authorities for that person. Right now you cannot smoke on the airplane.
No.
So it's a serious matter. It may be when you go, as Wendell said, you go to Europe, you can do it here in certain places. In Denver here, it's massive, you can do it. And that's why they say Denver is the best place in all the United States to live, basically because of that. So, but it's hard to say. Something I want to bring up too from yesterday. I was a bit really disturbed yesterday, and maybe somebody could look into it because a friend of mine called me. I was busy doing something. I'm home right now until the 4th. A friend of mine called from another country and asked me if I'm listening to you guys. I was busy, so I stopped listening after the show. And it was the other show at 9 o'clock. And listen, I started listening as well. That somebody has to do something about that guy there, that guy from T House. It's ridiculous that at this modern time, people calling the region talking about black and kind of craziness, black people, and making all kind of derogatory statements. It really had me. I called the station. I have to let them a bit. I don't usually get upset like that. This second time I had to do it. And maybe somebody could, in authority, can have a word and block that guy from this. He is blocked from 5 stations in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, he clearly knows, Monkey know what to claim because he doesn't call this show anymore because he's put in his place over a year ago and exposed for his discriminatory mindset.
Yes, and it's ridiculous. I invite people from different parts of the world to listen to the station. And when somebody from Ethiopia who's never been to the Caribbean, who love you guys,
and I don't know why they entertain him because he has quite racist tendencies.
Something needs to be done. I don't lose my temper like that, and I think it's bad because my father's of Indian descent, my mother's of African descent. I love all people, and I find that it's totally unproductive. And for a good station, I guess as I was telling somebody yesterday that y'all right now, since I started listening to you guys, I stopped listening to MSNBC because you guys look how many different topics you guys cover every morning. Totally different. Whereas these stations in the United States, let's cover one thing over and over and over and over. And they're very biased there. But you guys deal with matters from all angles, and that's what's so great about you guys.
Thank you, Captain Ron.
Y'all don't know your strength. Anyway, y'all have a good one.
All right.
Thank you. You all have a great day. Coming up after the 8 a.m. newscast, Dennise Demming will be talking to Kamiko Scott on Power Conversations. Have a wonderful day. Wendell, please give me a rest from those forwards today. Thank you very much.
Right now, you want it. You know you want it.
Look at yeah, he does respond. Oh God, they make me spit out my coffee. Oh Lord, I'm laughing out loud. That's how he does respond.
Gentlemen, have a great one.
Folks, have a great day. Remember to let go and let God.
Yes, have a fantastic day, whatever it is that you do. Remember the theaters on next
Do you
week
send
and
those
then-
things to the doctor, the leader of the country, Wendell?
So how you know he ain't sending them to me?
Oh, okay.
Leave that one. Let's go, gentlemen. After
Next week, Saturday and Sunday, theaters on Lotto Madness at Queen's Hall Tickets will be on sale at Queen's Hall from tomorrow. And I'll give you when outlets will have tickets. But Queen's Hall will have tickets from tomorrow. I think they'll be selling tickets. So theater is on. Remember to smile and laugh. It's good for your health. And have a fantastic day, whatever you do.
All right, let's get into 8 o'clock news brief.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is time for your news update at 8 o'clock. I'm Avril Cynthia Bob. Good morning. United National Congress leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar remains unafraid and unapologetic. This is in the face of mounting criticism internally and externally for her handling of potential political allies and her approach to unity. Earlier this week, a breakaway faction of dissatisfied UNC members announced the formation of a new party called Unity is Power. While the faces of this new proposed party are yet to be revealed, the group said in a statement that Persad-Bissessar has a petty approach to unity. That sentiment was echoed by National Transformation Alliance leader Gary Griffith yesterday after the cracks in their relationship developed. This was in reply to what Griffith perceived as an attack on his character by Persad-Bissessar at a UNC headquarters in Shoguanas on Monday night. She questioned Griffith's effectiveness as police commissioner between 2018 and 2021, saying 1,906 people were murdered while he was head of the TNT Police Service. Citizens continue to be under siege as home invasions continue after the home of a medical professional in Valsay, North Trinidad was invaded by 7 bandits on Monday afternoon. The owner, her son, and a female employee endured an hour of terror and suffering after the phone lines were cut and they were tied up and robbed of cash, jewelry, alcohol, and other valuables. Residents of the area are now rushing to strengthen security measures at their homes as they say a gang was operating in the area. The joint funeral of slain businessman Enrico Guerra and his 5-year-old daughter will take place at the family's home at St. Mary's Village in Moruga today. The funeral is set to start at 2 p.m., after which a street procession is planned from the house to the cemetery at Taylor Trace. 34-year-old Guerra, owner of Enrico Corner Mart, and his 5-year-old daughter Anika were killed on August 21st at around 9:45 p.m. by persons armed with guns. And Senate Vice President Dr. Muhammad Yunus Ibrahim has been selected to contest the Barataria San Juan seat for the People's National Movement in the upcoming general election. And PNM Senator Renuka Ragoobarsingh Suklal was again chosen to contest St. Augustine. This was indicated by PNM officials yesterday following Monday's screening at PNM's Balize House headquarters of nominees for 5 seats. 4 southern seats were screened last Friday. In June, the PNM mandated its executives in the 9 opposition-held areas to seek nominees. Well, that was your update to 8 o'clock. I'm Avril Cynthia Bob. Good morning. Look out for more news in full at 12 noon.
There is a connection between government policy and law in the sense that all laws start as some type of government policy. So, for example, in Trinidad and Tobago, we would have had the recent national policy on persons with disabilities. And that policy talks in very strong terms about the need to both enact laws to provide for the human rights of persons with disabilities. It also talks about the need to amend laws that we have on our statute books right now that discriminate against persons with disabilities. So once that policy is adopted and approved by the cabinet, then the process of making it a law can begin. The difficulty with the policy remaining as a policy, 2 things. One, it's not enforceable. So it does not really give you any rights legally because it's just a policy, it's not a law. And the other thing is that policies can change over time. Policies can change over time as the needs of the government or the focus of the government itself changes. It can change if the government itself changes. So that it's not enough for us to say, well, we have a policy. We have to take that further step to make the policy a law. because that is what will give full protection for the human rights of persons with disabilities.
But you see, the whole point is that we now have a convention that says that a person with disability has all of the rights of anybody else. And the Trinidad and Tobago government, because it has signed up to that convention, is bound to create laws or to create legislation that ensures those rights. Right. I think that's pretty wonderful. What do you think?
Oh, it's a pretty good idea.
Thank you so much, Eileen.
Thank you, Jean.
Let's look to the future.
Legislation sets the tone for how we treat each other as a society. It provides those boundaries and the expectations, and it also upholds the rights of all of the citizens.
Legislation is important for everyone in society as it sets rules and regulations that create an organized, safe and fair environment in which everyone is equal.
They form the opinion that because you have a disability, that you are somehow unintelligent, stupid, ridiculously asinine, you name it. So legislation is quite important, and I hope that legislation is soon coming so that people with disabilities can be who they are. People first, disabilities after.
All right, well, let's get into power conversations. Good morning, Dennise Demming.
Hi, good morning. It has taken me a while to get in for all kinds of reasons, but that's the country we live in. I'll give you an example. And I'm going to call the name. St. Jude's is down the hill from where I live, and they are playing music that I am hearing. You know, come on. Should you be playing music so loud? Anyway, I've taken a deep breath, so I'm in a much calmer mood now. Good morning, I'm Dennise Demming, the host of Power Conversations. Join me on a Monday and Wednesday from 8 a.m. to dig deeper into issues that are trending in our country. Our guest this morning is Kamiko Scott. Just before Kamiko introduces herself, please reach out to us on the chat or call us on 222-TALK, that's 222-8255, or if you're in the US or Canada, toll free, it's 866-525-1099, or you can WhatsApp us on 868-318-1021. Welcome, Kamiko, and tell us, who are you? Okay, Kamiko, I think you were muted.
Hi,
So
I got it. Thank you. Thanks so much, Dennise, and thank you, everyone. Thanks for the invitation to be here with you today. Who is Kamiko Scott? A dedicated daughter of Trinidad and Tobago. I love that I'm a product of our island, and that means exposure to our culture in a wide variety of ways and exposure to many different places and jobs and sectors through my career and life. In this particular conversation for this role, I am working with the Rape Crisis Society as one of their coordinators, managing projects and handling fundraising and a couple other things on behalf of the organization.
Lovely, a lot of that, Kamiko. But tell me, you're also a communicator, aren't you? A
Yes.
special communicator.
Yes, so I have spent some time working in media in Trinidad and Tobago on a couple radio stations, well, and then progressed into doing a mass communications degree at COSTAT, and then went into something called behavior change communication. So it's the idea that how do we get persons to change their belief system or their behavior around a particular topic? How do we communicate with persons to help them make a change?
And Kamiko, I find that so interesting because communication and behavior change are almost synonymous. Because if we want to change behavior, we have to be able to communicate. And our society is at a stage now, for me, in which behavior change is the bottom line. So just before we begin the rape crisis part of it, what are some of your thoughts on what can we do to change behavior in our country?
I think first and foremost, the understanding that it will take us all. Behavior change starts with communicating and getting buy-in for that change from everyone you'd like to change. We can't be dictating change on a societal or even large community level or even in an organization. Dictating change kind of leads to people not wanting, not liking it, not being appreciative. So I think step one is really the understanding and appreciation that change will involve us all and involve all of our input and making sure that we are aware of the benefits or the impact of any change that is to come.
Hi, I am back. Kamiko, I mean, technology in this country is amazing. So I was popped backstage after I asked you that question. So let's move on, Kamiko, and hope that the technology will not continue to give us such a hard time this morning. So tell me about your role in the Rape Crisis Society.
Well, initially, I was hired to be part of some internationally funded projects that Rape Crisis won. So that in that context, Rape Crisis actually goes in for grant proposals, winning grants or opportunities for funding through different international organizations. That role morphed from managing a bilingual hotline and the staff involved with that to doing some coordination and small project management as well as fundraising efforts. So trying to seek funding for the organization. So jack of all trades, it feels like sometimes, but that's pretty much the NGO environment. Low resources, so you become a multitasker or someone who is able to do different things within a particular organization.
So tell us about Rape Crisis Society. What's the history of it? When did it start? What is its role?
Rape Crisis Society started just about in 1984, so we're celebrating a big anniversary this year. And it was a response to a surge in sexual and domestic violence happening in the country. So there were a group of women who came together and said, what can we do? Social workers, psychologists, how can we support survivors who have experienced sexual and gender-based violence? So in 1984, that started as offering free counseling sessions. The first step, free counseling sessions to persons who had experienced these incidents, these tragedies, and then morphed into a hotline. So Rape Crisis started a hotline for persons who had experienced any sort of sexual and domestic violence. And from that, and the organization itself kind of formalized in 1986, offering counseling support, free and confidential, offering that hotline service, but also introducing different projects or training opportunities as we saw the need. So, for example, when you are providing counsel to someone who may in a domestic violence situation or an abusive relationship, if they're trying to plan an escape, they would need a source of income. So what Rape Crisis was able to introduce was training programs. So whether it was preserving fruits or making red mango or taking a sewing class, it was training that allowed women or persons who were experiencing violence at home to learn a skill in order to earn an income. So as need arise, Rape Crisis has kind of evolved to meet that need as well.
Okay, so you said it began when some women observed an increase in rape and domestic violence, and that was in 84. Do you know what the data is today? Has it decreased? Has it increased? What is it like? Rape and domestic violence.
We are still in that place where the statistics say that 1 in 3 women experience some sort of sexual or gender-based violence. And I think even though that's an international statistic, I believe it's very true for Trinidad and Tobago as well. We exist in a culture that has a lot of preconceived notions about this issue and a lot of cultural excuses sometimes that can occur. So I don't think it has decreased in prevalence, but I think awareness has increased. So more people are in a position to call out the behavior or to be willing to admit that they've experienced some sort of violence to themselves.
When you talk about cultural excuses, can you give me a suggestion about what you mean by that?
I think Rape Crisis has been hitting our head against some of these for many years since we began. Off the top of my head, after 12 is lunch, which I have heard since I was a teenager. So the idea that once a young woman gets to 12, she is ripe for the picking. In some sectors of society, there's also the culture of if I fed her, she was my responsibility, she's part of my family, I need to taste it or touch it first. And this casual regard for women's bodies or for persons' personal space. And that's not just isolated to women only. It's just a blatant disregard for respecting persons' bodies and their sexual nature. Kind of seems existent in our space.
Yeah. You raise that issue that sometimes parents feel that from the time their child gets beyond 12, they can access that child sexually.
Yeah.
No, and that is something that I think is I think it's prevalent, and I don't have the data, but some of the experiences I've had, I think it's prevalent. How do you think we can begin to change that?
I think part of it is really awareness, because we've gotten to a stage where a lot of people perceive that cultural thinking or that type of thinking as natural or as normal or as how we should operate. So making sure, I think defining abuse or defining what constitutes abuse has been something that Rape Crisis has had to do in every outreach activity. So there are people who don't appreciate or don't understand that if somebody is withholding finance from you or not allowing you to exist, while you are dependent financially on them or using finance to hold over you or manipulate you, that's a form of abuse.
Yeah.
And making that clear to persons, because we have been so used to accepting what may be the norm, just being aware of what constitutes abuse and standing up for yourself, not as a victim, but as a survivor. I've gone through this when I'm a survivor of this. So awareness has been a big part of getting into that prevalence or reducing that prevalence.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the challenges that the rape crisis society faces today?
I think funding becomes the first one that comes to mind. The work that we do involves providing counseling services free of charge. Well, we have hired psychologists in order to perform that service. And while they may not be charging their full rate to work with us, we also want to provide them with a salary. So that has been a challenge. I mean, getting our name out there to encourage funding and voluntary support is something that we're working on assiduously in 2024 and beyond.
So, in terms of funding, how do you collaborate with organizations who might want to fund you? And I say might want, and my emotion triggers because my view is that in Trinidad, no company wants to sponsor you unless their logo could be all over whatever you're doing. And that is so old fashioned. So that is Dennise just said that.
And in our work, there's a limitation on how much of that we can do, because we're not going to further traumatize or expose a survivor of domestic or sexual violence for the purpose of a sponsor picture. We're not going to do that. So what we've found has been more appealing of an opportunity is looking for international funding and grants. So organizations that their mission is to support our kind of work rather than having to convince somebody of the benefit of our work. So that has been the balance that we've tried to create. We collaborate with other organizations to offer counseling support or to receive funding. So one of the big projects that we did recently was with UNHCR. So they supported us for a couple of years to provide free counseling services to migrants and locals who may be experiencing trauma. And that kind of collaboration allows us to both serve the migrant population and the local population, because we were able to advocate that we're not going to be able to exclusively serve migrants, even if you're providing us this funding. So that kind of approach to seeking funding money.
So you collaborated with UNHCR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes.
but you said that was a 2-year project.
Yeah.
So how do you continue to focus on the migrants, and how do you do that if that project and that collaboration has ended?
We seek other collaborations. Right now, we have a project happening with L'Oreal Fund for Women, and their focus is women and girls receiving counseling and some outreach projects. And we've written in an element of providing support to migrant women. So we keep pressing forward to be able to offer that support, because we appreciate how vastly it's needed. We get that feedback from clients when they've experienced a couple sessions, when they're completing our feedback form, of how beneficial experiencing counseling, experiencing therapy is. So we will keep pressing on.
Yes, I mean, there's nothing else we can do. Just keep pressing on, keep trying to find different approaches. You said L'Oreal, and I know that as a brand, a cosmetic brand. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, we're talking about the cosmetic brand out of France. They actually have a fund for women, which is like the charitable or social enterprise arm of the organization. So we actually were able to send them a proposal for the work that we do, and of course do some background checks and audited financial statements and all that, and they approved our proposal to receive some funding. So yes, the international brand. So we have learned how to scour international websites to look for opportunities that fall within our sector. And those priorities change internationally. So over the last couple of years, the migrant situation coming out of Venezuela would have been a very big topic, would have received funding. Projects would have been started to offer support. But as that issue seems to decline or fade a little bit or regularize, as you may want to see it, the funding is going to dry up because another issue will take priority, whether that's climate change or human trafficking. So our need to keep our eye out and be proactive in terms of seeking funding opportunities is important.
Yeah. And we certainly have to try to seek the funding opportunities with successful local organizations, because we can't continue to depend on France to come to Trinidad to support. Not that I'm saying we don't need it, but it's kind of, I that is complicated in my brain.
Yes.
Because that suggests to me that the local support is not there. So you all have to end up going outside. But we're thankful. We're absolutely thankful.
Local support, I wouldn't say is completely absent. I think some organizations, because Rape Crisis Society has been around so long, some organizations have it written into their beginning of the year share of funding or philanthropy. But it doesn't sustain us.
Yes. So I withdraw, and what you said is that there is local support.
Yes.
We need a little more.
Yes, we need a lot more.
Yes.
Because I think the impact of the work is bigger than we think.
Yeah.
I think, and people need to realize that persons who have experienced sexual or gender-based violence, that impacts not just them, but also their circle. If I'm a mother manning a household, but I was recently raped, am I able to care well for my children? Am I able to go to work and be productive? Or is my mental state in such a decline that I am unable to function? So understanding that providing support for trauma is going to be beneficial in a wider way, not just for the individual only.
Mm-hmm. How has the Rape Crisis Society adapted its services to meet, the evolving needs of survivors, particularly, like after the pandemic, the COVID pandemic? What have you had to change in order to cope with your survivors?
We had to enact tele-mental health or Zoom counseling sessions, and that's something that involved policy development for the organization, training for psychologists who work with us, as well as interactions with our clients so that they could download the necessary platforms, have access to them, know how to use them. And even we had to seek devices and the donation of devices for some survivors because they may not have had a properly working device. So that transition during the COVID-19 lockdowns is something that we definitely did. So we took our counseling services to an online space. And that required, of course, a lot of training and policy changes within the organization.
Okay, and that was during COVID. And what has happened post-COVID?
But what we've come to learn, and that during lockdown experience taught us, is that people want to access counseling services. They may have a desire, but an obstacle in their way may be transportation to get to our offices, or an obstacle in their way is that they have to work. And even though I may get an hour off from work to sit in the canteen and have my counseling session, I may not get 3 hours to accommodate for traveling time. So we've seen that being in the online space has increased the retention of clients because they're actually able to attend their sessions regularly or as scheduled, and also allowed persons to put a little change, keep a little change in their pocket while still accessing the service. When it comes to migrant support, we also took our interpreter included model online. So finding psychologists in Trinidad who speak Spanish is very hard to do. So Rape Crisis Society introduced an interpreter included model of counseling, which is something we had to get trained interpreters for. They underwent a lot of sensitization to gender-based and sexual violence issues. So those things that we introduced during the lockdown time have served the organization since then, and we've seen it benefit clients.
Okay, could you explain that interpretation? How does that work online?
So we'll have the interpreter in a separate box, just like you see us have it. It's us here in this Zoom room or StreamYard room. You have three boxes. Your interpreter would be one, your counselor would be another, and your client would be in another space. So separate locations, separate devices. Um, it took a little effort for us to get it right because even when we were doing that interpreter included model in person, or when we do it in person, we had to learn how to sit so that the client is not focused solely on the interpreter or leaning into the interpreter as their counselor, but rather appreciating that this is your voice and understanding mechanism. So it's been a challenge, but it's also been very effective in terms of providing support.
And that sounds really fabulous to me because it means that someone doesn't understand the language, but there's an interpreter who also has a little bit of a background in the psychology. So they're able to interpret the statement as accurately as possible from either the client or the counselor. That is a lot of hard work that I am seeing here.
And that's not something our interpreters came to us with. So what we would have done is ensure that they did a basic counseling course that we offer, that they did the advanced counseling course that we offer, to be exposed to the terminology, to be able to go back into their Spanish dictionary and find the translation or ask someone, because what we've found is that Spanish that you may have learned in school is not always Venezuelan Spanish. There are dialect terms, just like in Trinidad, we have shorthand terms for things. So our interpreters actually had to learn from three different realms: the psychological terms, the sexual and gender-based violence terms, but also the slang in the Venezuelan Spanish that will be able to impart the information clearly to the survivor.
Wonderful. You just indicated that you all offer courses in counseling. Tell me about that.
So it's one of the things that started pretty early for the organization because we saw that while persons were trained in providing counsel or offering support, they may not have gotten specific training in gender and sexual violence. And what we mean when we say that is the defining of the terms, the understanding of the law, but also the impact on the survivor. So our courses have helped social workers, have helped teachers, have helped serve all staff. So persons who are engaged with young people or large audiences and may have to interact with an issue that they are completely unfamiliar with. Being exposed to a Rape Crisis Society course can give you just an introduction and a bit more. So part of our basic course is understanding yourself, because it's so important to dissect your own biases, your own beliefs, the things that are stuck in your head that you're not even aware of when it comes to somebody's sexuality or somebody experiencing violence. So our courses have been running for over 20 years. So served many people in different sectors: nurses, social workers, police officers. We've done training with the gender-based unit of the TTPS. We've done training with the judiciary as laws change and persons who are survivors may have to interact with the court system. We want them to face a frontline or a clerk who is aware of the impact of the situation. So shows some empathy, shows some sensitivity. So rape crisis courses have touched a lot of sectors in our society.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about basic and advanced courses. So
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference?
I think it's just in depth, level of depth. When it comes to advanced, we do a couple more weeks and cover a little more depth in topics. So for the advanced, we may have the profile of a perpetrator.
Yeah.
So appreciating that while somebody may perpetrate a sexual or domestic violence crime, they are human. There's a reason behind that. So exposing our persons participating in the course to what does that profile look like? Who is a perpetrator and how should you treat with that person? Rape Crisis Society has also offered perpetrator counseling. So if you are in a place as somebody who is willing to adjust your behavior or change your behavior, you acknowledge that is incorrect, providing counseling services is an option that we offer as well.
Lovely. Absolutely. It seems that you all do a range of work, you know, and a lot of this work really is important to our development. It's important to our survival. It's important to us looking at those persons who are victims as well as the perpetrators and trying to get them to be normalized, you know. So it's excellent work that I'm hearing you do. I want to just transition a little to talking about the kinds of policies that exist in our country. And do you all have any anything that you all are involved in?
When it comes to policies, I think partly because we've been around for such a long time and we've had a lot of impactful persons or who have supported the organization over time, policy development, the government has turned to us for statistics, for insight. So we've been able to give our feedback for the Children's Act, changes to laws that have been happening in the sexual and domestic violence realm. We've been able to provide information from the survivor's perspective and based on our counselors and psychologists' experience with providing support. So a little insight into what happens with a survivor or why they might be unwilling to report or what are some of the things that come up so that they are reluctant to tell a family member. So providing that insight from the perspective of the survivor has been something that Rape Crisis has done. We've also advocated for changes. So one of the things we've signed on to now is a project where we are requesting that survivors have a shorter time in the court system. So right now it takes very long for a case to be called. It takes very long. An officer may not show up in court on Wednesday when you go, and then the case is put off for 3 months down the line. How that impacts the survivor because every time you go, your anxiety has increased. So we are part of a group that's actually advocating so that in the case of sexual violence, let's speed up the court time. Let's speed up the case time because what we're doing is re-traumatizing our survivors. And no amount of counseling may be able to guide them through a 4-year process of seeing a court case come to the end.
You know, and what that does is that it keeps the issue, it keeps the violence within their head. Every time they go to court, they almost relive that experience, you know. So it's really good to try to work on lessening the time that takes, you know. But sometimes I'm not sure that that is fully understood.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we reduce that? What do you think is holding us back from reducing the length of those cases?
I think it's a broad brush being used across our judiciary or across our system of courts. The broad brush is this is when cases happen. This is when we have time with no consideration for the individual circumstances of the cases. And while that system may be working for other things, particularly for survivors, it doesn't work. And we cannot use the default available system in these scenarios. I don't know what the justification is in the court system for taking such a long time, but I want us to treat particular issues or particular types of cases a little differently because of how impactful the trauma is. So things like child abuse cases, they're not supposed to take 5 years because by the time they're done, the child is an adult. Come on, that's not okay. So we need to adjust the way the system works for those particular kind of cases. If somebody is raped, I don't want to be facing my accuser for the next 8 years of my life. And that's what I have to do if you tell me that that's how long the case is going to live out for. And that in turn impacts the willingness to report. If it is that I'm going to have to be in the court system for 8 years, looking at my accuser, remembering what happened to me, why would I report to begin with?
Wow, that is, I can feel the pain of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a painful circumstance
Yeah.
because it's just another thing. And it's not the only thing, but it's just another thing that hinders the ability of someone to heal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it takes a long time. It's repetitive, and I don't know if the transformation of the system is the solution or if it is a redesign of the system. And that's something that I think as a society we have to start working on. That a lot of our systems cannot just be transformed, they have to be redesigned with a particular kind of objective in place. So, I mean, if I had power, I would redesign the court system in terms of rape and domestic violence. The rest, that's all the business. But rape and domestic violence, because those things have long-term consequences.
Yes.
They take quite a long time.
Even in the domestic violence realm, you mentioned it there, and the idea that I need to the person who I am filing a restraining order against needs to be served the restraining order, and I need to appear in court with them in order for the order to be enacted. If I'm in a domestic violence situation, how does that time frame offer me any protection? And there's already the perception that the piece of paper that you get offers you no protection at all. So if I do go through this process, what are the benefits to me? I've exposed myself as a victim to the neighborhood police who knows my auntie, who's going to tell my aunt that he saw me in the police station and I get licks. I have put myself in a position where I have to face the accuser, and they're going to get a notice that says that I have filed a restraining order against them and that they need to appear in court. And then I have to face them in court. And then it's on the whim, not so much on the whim, but then it's decided if I get the order. And then I have to hope that the police are able to maintain or offer me some sort of protection, which I am not sure of or guaranteed.
So that means that the victims are in a really difficult space that almost they cannot get out of. Yeah. So I think in a lot of cases, victims just tolerate it and try their best to survive rather than go through the process.
And I think we've also gotten to a place where our authorities understand, or maybe they don't understand, because there's a statistic that says that abused persons go back at least 3 or 4 times. Even if they have left the household where the incidents happen or left the relationship, there's a likelihood that they would return. Even if they're put into shelter care, there's a likelihood that they will return to the situation. And for a number of reasons, of course, one primarily of which is mental state. And how healthy are you, or what is your state of wellness in your mind and your care for yourself that allows you to put yourself back into this situation? Yeah.
That's a really, really painful thing. And I don't want to continue talking about the painful things. I want us to just focus a little bit on what are the long-term goals of the Rape Crisis Society. Where do you see yourselves having been around for 20 years? What's the long-term goal?
It's long-term goal for the organization is more sustainability, I think. We want to be in a place where we may be able to fund ourselves. So there may be an arm of the organization within the next 5, 10 years that's more focused on social enterprise work, where we could help businesses enact sexual harassment policies. We could go in and provide training for a fee, and then that funding is put back into the Rape Crisis Society work. So really working on social enterprise projects rather than being so dependent on short-term international or even local funding. The project-based funding, we're looking for ways to really work at funding the organization internally through services that we might be able to provide. So hotline training is something that Rape Crisis is very versed in, because we've had our hotline for 40 years, or maybe 38, and we would have trained persons not just for our hotline, but for other hotlines as well. So how to deal with a crisis phone call, how to deal with somebody experiencing suicidal ideation. Our training for hotline services is something we may be able to market and then earn money and revert it back into the organization. So really viewing and creating and implementing ways to be self-funded is something we're looking at towards the future.
That's a brilliant idea. The idea of, for instance, going into organizations and helping them to implement their sexual harassment policies and doing the training for organizations. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Have you attempted it as yet?
We've done a few of those training sessions so far, but I think what we may need to do is also change the structure of the organization, because as an NGO, there's some charges you can't charge. There's some, you're not meant to be earning income in that way. So we may have to develop a separate arm of the organization to handle that. So what we've been doing, if those trainings have come up and we've implemented them, it's more of a donation to the organization that the company that received the training would give.
What I'm hearing is that there is a bit of a difficulty with you charging a commercial rate for delivering a service that is commercial.
Yes.
Wow, that is so complicated.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty gets deep.
Because if that's a way for you to raise funds, then what you are required to do is to say to the organization, okay, I can do this training for you, and if you did it from a private sector organization, it would cost you 3x. Well, we just want 1x. 1x. But we can't even invoice you for that. So we want that 1x, and we want you to give it to us as a donation. Wow, that is a challenge. And the reason I think that's a challenge is that a lot of people will regard that as less than the quality of the commercial entity. A lot of organizations pay a lot of money because the commercial offer is better than an NGO offer.
And that may be the perception, but I think what we have come to learn is that our expertise maybe a little better, but primarily because of the specific training and exposure that our psychologists and staff receive. So because we see 1,200 people a year for counseling sessions, because we are compiling data about different scenarios or different instances, or what's the most prevalent space or place where somebody is victimized, that impacts the quality or the type of training that we can provide.
You just made a statement about seeing 1,200 people a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's about
and we have a waiting list.
And this 1,200 is free.
Yes. All free.
So 1,200 Trinidadians.
1,200 persons. This is all encompassing, I would say in terms of Trinidadians, it may be about 700.
Okay, right.
And that's, but because when we have a project with migrants, it kind of increases the numbers.
Okay, all right. So I shouldn't have said Trinidadians, but it's 1,200 people who live in
Yes.
our country
Yes.
access the Rape Crisis Society
Yes.
for free.
Yes.
I mean, that is amazing, because if you multiply that by the commercial rate, then you would make a whole lot of money and you will be self-sufficient.
Right, yes.
Wow.
But
So-
we also appreciate that the service that's needed sometimes needs to be free.
Yeah.
Because the persons we see are sometimes the most vulnerable in society. And in that position where you are the most vulnerable and then now a survivor of domestic or sexual violence, it's very hard to be willing to seek help. And then if you had to then, on top of seeking help, pay for it, that makes the gap even wider to your access. So
that could be changed in a very simple way, with an organization saying to you, we are prepared to pay for 200 persons annually.
Right.
So it's no longer you doing it for free. You are being paid and you become a little more self-sufficient. But that's not my business, so let me keep out of that. Tell me something. How can the public and the private sector support the mission of the Rape Crisis Society? What can they do?
Support us, support the mission, encourage your staff to volunteer, become a member of the organization, reach out to us.
Explain what you mean by become a member of the organization. Why would I want to be a member of the Rape Crisis Society?
Well, what happens when you're a member is that you contribute a yearly membership fee that goes towards our operations. As a member, you pay $200 for the year, and you get to say that you're a member, and you'll have voting rights on our management annual general meeting to decide who becomes our management committee. So as a member, you'll have that opportunity to vote, attend the annual general meeting, but also know that I am contributing, whether it's toilet paper, to this organization that's doing such great work. No drop is too small, because we've come to understand that having toilet paper could be an expense that is suddenly hard to manage. So appreciating that support is welcome. And we are in a position where you can be a volunteer or a member, so you can come and work with us for our outreach activities. You could be educated on how to provide information in your community. So being a member also gives you discounts for our courses. When we're running training as a member, you'll get a couple $100 off. So there's a benefit in being a member, but I think the biggest one is knowing that you're supporting the Rape Crisis Society to provide these counseling services. And we've said it in a way where it sounds like if it's only people exposed to sexual and gender-based violence, but no, Rape Crisis' free counseling is open to anyone. There's a priority given to sexual and gender-based violence, but it's open to anyone who needs counseling. So what you'll do is you'll call our offices, speak to Ms. Phillips, who answers the phone, and have a conversation about what your issue is or why you may like counseling. She fills out a form, and we try to schedule the appointments as quickly as possible.
How could a citizen help to prevent or to reduce our level of sexual violence?
Be very conscious of your own biases. Be very conscious of your own biases. I am not going to go down the line of telling people what to wear or telling people don't be in certain places past 9 p.m. I don't think that's the solution. I think what the solution is an understanding of respect for persons' bodies and their sexuality. So a citizen can prevent by educating others on the sanctity of personal space, of holding each other accountable. If we lineman on the block and you suiting a lady going down the road, your brethren has to be in a position to say, hey, why I'm not really respectful in it. Call the lady by something other than that. She's not an animal. So it's a cultural shift or an understanding shift that needs to take place. And I think persons who know need to hold other people up. So when you see it happening, when you hear a certain trend of thought, so somebody's experienced violence, she look for that. Or she always provoking the man.
Yeah.
Or he like to give one set a talk, so that's what happened more. He little funny, so that's what happened to him. He deserved that.
Yeah.
No, we need to hold each other up. Nobody deserves that. And it didn't matter what she had on.
Yeah. Yeah.
She should not have been disrespected in that way.
Lovely, lovely. Those are things that we have to raise the awareness of and try to really get our society to function like that. Because at the moment, there's so much aggression and disrespect that is happening under all kinds of circumstances. As we bring this conversation towards the end, and a miracle occurred. What role would you like to see Rape Crisis Society playing in our country?
The miracle occurred, a decrease in the need for our service, since we're talking miracles. I think people are not totally aware of the prevalence of sexual and gender-based violence. So I would love if the miracle happened for that need to be reduced, for persons to be respected and seen as their own bodies are their own. I would love to see the need for our services to decrease, because we still have a waiting list of cases referred to us by the Children's Authority or through the court system, of cases referred to us by the TTPS, persons who need counseling. And the step to access counseling is a brave one. And we hate having to put people on a waiting list. We hate having to delay the access to the service. So a decreased need would be the miracle I would pray for.
That's an excellent miracle. So we're praying for a decreased need. And you've been here, we've been chatting for about an hour. What message would you like to leave for our listeners and for our audience?
Just be a bit more aware. I think I was having a conversation with someone recently, and they were saying that in a group of 5 friends or in a group of 5 women that they know, they could identify, or it's been shared with them, that at least 3 of these women had experienced sexual violence at some point of their lives. And if we each think about our 5 friends, whether male or female, if we each think about our 5 friends, because males do experience sexual violence too, we just brush it aside as he get through, not a topic. But I think it's just really understanding that the prevalence is there and allowing empathy to be what you operate from, rather than victim blaming or shaming. So I really want people to appreciate the prevalence and know that because it's so underreported, there will be people that you know who have not told you that they've experienced this. But they are listening to how you respond to certain situations that come up. So be conscious of your responses or your own biases when it comes to sexual and gender-based violence.
And would you like to tell us how to contact the Rape Crisis Society?
Sure, I'd love to. 627-RAPE is our office line, so that's 627-7273. We also have a cell phone and WhatsApp number, 346-2637. That's 346-2637.
Thank you ever so much, Kimiko Scott. And I wish you the best as the Rape Crisis Society continues to make a difference in our country. And I certainly hope that you will get a little more local support so that you can deliver on all your goals and objectives. All the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Dennise Demming, and I'm bringing this part of Power Conversations to an end. See you next Monday. Bye.
There is a connection between government policy and law in the sense that all laws start as some type of government policy. So, for example, in Trinidad and Tobago, we would have had the recent national policy on persons with disabilities. And that policy talks in very strong terms about the need to both enact laws to provide for the human rights of persons with disabilities. It also talks about the need to amend laws that we have on our statute books right now that discriminate against persons with disabilities. So once that policy is adopted and approved by the cabinet, then the process of making it a law can begin. The difficulty with the policy remaining as a policy, two things. One, it's not enforceable. So it does not really give you any rights legally because it's just a policy, it's not a law. And the other thing is that policies can change over time. Policies can change over time as the needs of the government or the focus of the government itself changes. It can change if the government itself changes, so that it's not enough for us to say, well, we have a policy. We have to take that further step to make the policy a law, because that is what will give full protection for the human rights of persons with disabilities.